Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Does everybody have their coffee? Everybody have your coffee ready to go? I forget. Okay, not all of you are in my time zone. I know. Hey, Teresa. Hey, BB. Hey, Youngi's right hand. Hey, Andrea. Hey, everybody. There's Katie. Okay, we just gotta wait for. Hey, Katie. We just gotta wait for Shels. My cohort. Thank you. I had to drink out of my groin mug today, since we're talking about. This was my birthday gift from AP 529 admin team. Get your ass out of the trunk. It's my favorite thing ever. Okay. Are we ready for this? Are we ready to talk about loving ourselves? I have done, good morning, Natalie. I have 5 pages of notes. Now, so I did a lot of research, a lot of studying, a lot of thinking, a lot of reflection, a lot of introspection, a lot. And you're not going to just, hopefully I'm not just going to verbal diarrhea all over you, and I'll actually make sense, and, we'll have a conversation. Please be active in the comments as we're kind of going, and I will try to read the comments simultaneously and, comment back, and we'll try to turn this into a conversation. If you see me reading notes, it's because since I made them, I want to at least try to refer to them. But good morning, McSuze.
Here we go. We did it. It didn't show you live. I kept looking and it didn't show you live. But we're good now.
We're good now. I was like, I know she didn't forget this. So either something catastrophic has happened, or we cannot figure it out.
No, we got it.
Look at my little bestie. Look at my little bestie Shels on video. Look at her, you guys. She went this week and she got herself the camera stand, the phone stand, the light.
Yeah.
She's all prepared.
Yeah. Morning, everyone.
I'm so excited. So Shels is like how we talk a couple of times a week on the phone. She's the person that I call on my drive home from work, because I have an hour drive on the way home from work, and we just chat on my drive. And then we both have these blind spots where, like, when we're driving, we lose. So I'll be like, I'm on Peebly Road, like, I'm gonna lose you, and then we lose each other for a few minutes, and then we come back. That's how that is. So, Shels, will you introduce yourself, because you're newer to this, and not everybody knows you unless they're in the Discord.
I'm Shels. I'm on the planning team for AP 529 with Deb and Holly that are also here. We're doing great things. Planning the Kansas City trip in September, which is closing in on 60 days. So exciting.
Yay!
I know. It's going to be so much fun. Yep. So much fun.
They've worked their butt off on that.
Still are.
Yeah, still are. We will until the very last minute. And every time we get something that gets to check, now at this point, I'm like, we check something off and it's like a huge sigh of relief. I'm like, one less thing we have to worry about, but it's going to be amazing. So welcome, everybody. Today we are here to talk about, this is our second In the Coop. Last time we talked about ageism, which I'm sure will creep into probably every conversation we have, because it's just the reality of being part of a fandom, at our age. But also, it's just part of life. I mean, it's in everything. It's not just in fandom. It's in everything. But today we're talking about Love Yourself. I've titled it Love Yourself Groin Edition. So I've kind of broken it up into two spaces. So first part, we're going to talk about the concept of loving yourself. What does that look like? The second part, we'll dive into the go fuck yourself if you don't like me phase. Following our leader's example. But I'm really going to dive quite a bit into the lyrics of some songs. In my former life, when I was in ministry, it felt funny, because in my former life, when I would get ready to do public speaking and stuff like that, I'd have to dive into Bibles and Bible studies and definitions and stuff like that, and prepare, and, scripture and all that. And now I'm diving into BTS lyrics, and I'm like, it's so funny. It just feels so weird, but it's awesome. And truths are truths no matter where you find them. So, exactly. Wherever your space is that you find your truths, They're there, and we just have to be open to them. So I shared a little bit of my story on a video the other day about where I think some of my negative sort of thoughts about myself come from, and that's from being, kind of labeled as the idiot, the stupid kid, the whatever, and really people not seeing much potential in me as I was growing up. Whether based in reality or not based in reality. But Shels, tell us a little bit about your story, and kind of so that we all have that jumping off point now, if we are able to now walk through that process.
Well, similar to you, I'm one of three, but in a different order. I'm the oldest. So I was the one that had all the pressure. You're only going to get straight A's in school. Don't come home if you're coming home with a B. All of that. Because I was the first one in my family to go to college. My grandparents came right off the boat from Italy. So there was a lot of that kind of pressure. So I learned early on to please everyone else, which I did 20s, 30s, until I was in a relationship that didn't work. In my 40s, I found myself alone for the first time in my life. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, now's your chance to really learn who you are. Mm-hmm. So this is my how BTS found me story. So I'm in my early 40s. I moved back home, start to learn who I am, what I want to do. I decide at 47, I'm going to go back to college and get my bachelor's degree. So I'm in class. Of course, I'm the oldest one there. They're all a bunch of 20-year-olds. And then a friend of mine from college, who I'm still close to, who lives in Japan, sent me fire. And I said, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And
As all friends should.
Mm-hmm. And I took BTS all the way through college with me and graduated at almost 50, got my bachelor's.
It's amazing.
So BTS was with me the whole way. And really learned about myself because I had nobody to answer to. I had nobody to take care of. I had, and I really learned. And I got that I don't give a shit attitude. If you don't like me, you don't like me. And in school, the kids were looking up to me, and I'm like, well, is it because of my age? Or, we grew together, I told them, I said, I'm basically mentally where you guys are now, and we're all going to grow together. Mm-hmm. And I'm still close with some of them. So after doing that, getting my bachelor's, now I'm in a career that I empower other people. So it's total circle.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the reasons why I adore you so much, is that you are my opposite in a lot of ways. And one of those is you are able to be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not there yet. I've not found that. I am in some places. But so it's refreshing to have a conversation with you, because you don't give a shit necessarily. But you do it in the right way, and we'll get into that. Like, I think there's bravado, and there's really I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I think there's two, but okay, I'm skipping ahead. So I was kind of digging into some stuff, and it's like, how do we get to the place, first of all, of not loving ourselves? And I think it's obviously, it's childhood traumas, it's relationship traumas, it's mistakes we make through life, so we're carrying shame. It's things that happen to us, things that we do. I mean, there's all kinds of things that kind of can envelop. It's unforgiveness of ourselves, right? For the stuff that we've done, and that kind of piles up. And so I was reading, and I wanted to read some lyrics. And again, like I told you guys, I'm going to read a lot of lyrics today from the guys, because I think this is what I want this In the Coop to be, really deep diving into BTS stuff, because that's what, obviously Army Project 529 is. But also they have so much wisdom to share, right? So the first lyric I want to read is from Answer, Love Myself. And so this is the lyric. It says, perhaps then loving someone else, it is more difficult to love myself. Let's be honest and admit that we have to admit, okay, hold on, my thing went to sleep, that your standards are more strict when they are applied to you. In other words, like, we are so much harder on ourselves, and we'll nitpick ourselves to death, but we don't do that to other people. Are you that way, or are you you've found your way that you're not that way anymore?
No, I'm still that way. I mean, I'm still learning in the progress. And actually, the same song, Steph, I picked a different lyric.
You did? Okay.
I did. Maybe there's no answer. Maybe this isn't the answer either. Even loving myself requires someone's permission. Accepting yourself with your flaws. So,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it is. It's like we walk in front of a mirror, we see only the flaws, right? I see only my red nose. I see only the, my fat thighs. I see only, all the things that we tell ourselves. But I look at other people, I don't notice any of that. And it's like we allow a filter for other people, but we don't allow that same thing for ourselves. And so how is it possible to love ourselves if we are so freaking hypercritical all the time? Yeah, we're our own worst critics. It's absolutely the worst. And I think we hold ourselves to a higher standard than we hold anybody else.
That is true.
Right? Like, I see other people and they accomplish stuff, and I'm like, or they're even striving to accomplish something, and I'm like, oh my God, look at them go. That's so amazing, da 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 da. I don't give myself that same kudos. Like, I'm not like, look at you trying. You may not be, whatever, but look at you go and celebrate that. I don't celebrate myself, but I'm very readily willing to celebrate somebody else. Or anybody, I'm seeing in the comments that a lot of people, feel the exact same way. It's just like and maybe it's the we've taken the voices of people, that the negative voices we've heard throughout our life, and we've adopted them as our own voice, and that's what goes through our head constantly. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's, in spiritual terms, you would kind of think it could be quote unquote the enemy, or, whatever you kind of feel about that. Or it can be a lot of different things, but it's this inner dialogue that just continually goes through your head, where it's almost impossible to form a positive thought about yourself because you've got all that negative shit just rolling around constantly.
Plus, everyone that you're looking at that's doing better that you think than yourself, you have no idea the road that they had to take to get to that. When you take that,
well, yeah. What is that? We compare our behind the scenes to everybody else's highlight reel. I think is like the way, like we look on social media and the way people present themselves, and they look all so put together and so happy and so wonderful. We don't see the behind the scenes shit that was going on 5 seconds before they turned the camera on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's like social media can be the worst, but somehow we manage to still be fuck ups and not love ourselves before social media came around, too. So it's not just social media. I know we like to blame social media. But, when we were passing notes that we had to fold up on paper and pass them through school, we were still having we still had self-esteem issues, and we still had those negative thoughts, or maybe we adopted those negative thoughts as our own truth, and we believed them. We gave them a lot of the other thing I think that we do, I'm going to read another one. So this is from Epiphany, which I listened to a million times. I loved you so much for sure. I adapted myself entirely to you. I wanted to live for you. Okay. So from that, I really have taken, especially as if we are parents or if we're in relationships or whatever, we work really hard at understanding the people that we love, right? So that we can love them fairly and truly and justly and all of those things, and give them grace and give them space. And we do all that. We do the work. We do the therapy. We learn how to love tough people, blah, 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 right? We change ourselves, and we so focus on loving others that sometimes we completely forget who we are. We lose ourselves completely because we're trying to be what other people need us. I need to be the best mom. And therefore I need to be this way and this way, or I need to be the best wife, and therefore I need to be this way or this way, or I'm trying to be a really good friend. Like I am not a great friend, because sometimes I can be the person that's like, you're out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't mean I don't love somebody, but it's just like my brain is so busy all the time. I don't think of people as often as I should, right? And so I'm practicing that. But do I give myself that same attention to try to figure my own stuff out? Well, not until recently,
Right, and ask somebody what they love about you, and think about that. Like, what does your partner love about you the most? Grab that and build yourself up.
Yeah. Hi, Connie. It's funny though, because when Sean, Sean's my husband, when he tells me what he loves about me, is anybody else this way? I don't take compliments well. Compliments make me very uncomfortable. And I will immediately deflect and immediately, no, oh, that's stupid, or that, and he's always like, I can't even, like I think he's given up trying to, to be that way. But you're right. I think if you were to ask the people around you, the people that love you, what is it about me that you love? I bet you, some of it's probably very small, simple things that we do that we don't even realize we've done. And maybe some of it's the bigger things. I don't know. I've always been scared to ask. I've always been scared to ask anyone other than my husband. But the funny thing is, when I've asked him what he loves about me, it's funny because the things he loves about me are the things that I think I lack the most. If that makes sense. Like, no, he would look at me and he would say, we actually had a little bit of an argument today because I was going live today. And I was on a call last night. I was on something that, I've been on something for the project every minute, almost every night. And he was like, are you ever not doing this? And I was like, not really. No, it like takes all my time because I love it. But so anyway, we're having a conversation about this and he goes, this is what scares me the most about you in the best way. He's like, you put something out there and you go all out and there's just no telling what it can become. And that's terrifying for someone like me. So he's like, he doesn't really take a lot of risk, which this doesn't feel like a risk, but so he sees that positive in me. Whereas I see it as I'm not doing enough. I'm not trying enough. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like it's only this or it's whatever. He sees it completely the opposite. Are you able to kind of look at yourself objectively, or do you, and through other people's lenses, or are you just not capable of doing that? Because you seem to me like someone, you get it. Like you get the shit. I do. You get that you're all that.
Mm-hmm. I do.
So not fair. So not fair.
I don't take compliments well at all either. Like I have a lot of accomplishments through work. I have a new grandbaby. I've got a lot going on in my life. And when people will say, oh, this is fantastic. You did this great. You did this project great. I'm like, this person succeeded doing this. And it's like, no, it wasn't just me, It takes a village. It's the truth.
Did you ever lose yourself, your own identity in anybody else? Or did you do that for that first relationship where that?
Yep. I absolutely lost myself up until my 30s. My 30s were when I turned 30, it was the worst. Because I thought I should have this whole checklist of everything done in my life and I should be so much further. Mm-hmm. And that's when it started unraveling and then I started building myself back up to the way I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. So that feeling that you had to have this checklist and everything's checked off, was that from the pressure of the parents, from you will do exceptional, you will be...
Yep. Exactly.
You and I are completely opposite then.
Yes.
Because from your family, it was, we expect you to accomplish all these great things. From my family, it was, we expect you to accomplish zero things. We have zero faith in you whatsoever. But they can both affect you the same way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's really
Leslie,
cool.
That's a great comment. Leslie just said, I let my job be my identity. And a lot of people do that. That's a really good point, Leslie.
Yeah. You can see people sometimes as their... Leslie's point is so good because you can see sometimes where people's identity becomes the thing that they're doing in the moment, which is actually, you're like, that's not truly even you though. Right? You're using it as sort of, oh, this must be it. This must be the thing, right? That's going to make me finally love myself. But if you're ever looking externally for something to make you love yourself, you're already like behind the 8 ball on that, right? Because nothing externally can make you accept yourself internally. I don't think. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But, I mean, you can do things that build your self-esteem. I think you can build things that make you feel more complete and more whole as a person, but you still have to do the inner shit.
Mm-hmm. What's the first thing you ask somebody when you meet them? What do you do?
What do you do? Well, Korea, that's their entire, they address each other based on what they do.
Correct. So that holds such merit, and it really shouldn't. I know it does because, if it's a common thing, especially through work, but that shouldn't be your full identity.
So what do we think? Okay, so we know we've got these inner dialogues that tumble in the brain, right? And that keep us from, okay, so I'll say, for example, and I don't think my husband would care if I shared this. I'm trying to decide if I should share that or not. Yeah, so my husband had a very, very, very difficult childhood. His mother was an addict. He had never, before she passed away, she was only sober for the last 3 years of her life. He had never seen her sober as a child. Never, ever experienced her lucid. And which caused obvious, and then he had a very critical father, very critical. So nothing that he did was ever good enough. Da, 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 da. So there was a lot of shit we had to kind of work through, and I got the luxury of worrying about his shit for a good, 20 years of our marriage, right? Right? Just focusing on him, and he's so effed up, and I got, look at me, the saint, for putting up with all this and all that. I didn't have to focus on my own stuff because I got to focus on his because his seemed bigger. Right. And then here he is, finally dealt with all his shit. And then all of a sudden, the glaring is on me. And I'm like, oh, I actually do have my own problems I have to deal with. But it was much nicer when I got to focus on his shit. So it's the people sometimes closest. I mean, we say we don't give ourselves grace, but sometimes we don't give much grace to the people that are closest to us either, because we just expect them to be like, just love me. Just accept me when we don't even accept ourselves. So,
yeah, it's so much easier to knock yourself down than to build yourself up.
Right. And it's also, for me, I think it sometimes can be a defense mechanism. I'll tear myself down before you get the chance.
Exactly.
Because I expect it's going to come, especially about my intelligence. I will do that a lot, and I know I do it all the time. If I go back and I watch videos of, these things, there's many sentences I will start with. I know this is dumb. I know I sound stupid. I know, and it's like I'm setting the stage so that you don't have to tell me that. I already know it. Like, based on what I'm about to say, you don't have to come now and tell me that, because it's so ingrained in me. I understand that I'm not intelligent. I understand that I'm not those things. And so I do it all the time. And it's that inner voice that I can't shut up. So, and trying to fix it, heal ourselves, how do we do that?
That's a long process. Everybody's different on their journey, but I think you have to like yourself first. You have to like the person that you are. Look at, what you want to accomplish. I mean, if you would have told me that at 57 I'd be here on TikTok on a planning team, and I would have said no way. It takes a lot of confidence stuff for you to do what you did and what you started with admin. So you definitely have to give yourself some grace as well. This is a huge project for a lot of people that are getting so many benefits from it.
Well, I will say, I didn't know it was going to be any of this, so I don't get credit for thinking I'm going to do this huge thing. I thought I was doing a tiny thing, but I'm going to practice accepting. Thank you for that. One of the books I wrote very early on, one of the characters, it was basically myself, which is what writers tend to do. And again, this is a Christian-based book, so just accept my little thing I'm going to do for a second. I'm not going to preach to any of you. I'm just going to say this is the context in which I kind of walk through this process. So one of the things I had my character do, who had these just constant negative thoughts about themselves, was journal you know how you carry around like a diet journal, and you walk around and you have your little, and you write down every piece of food that you eat or whatever.
Yeah.
This character, I had them write down every negative thought they had about themselves as they had it. And so I did it. It was horrifying. Like pages and pages and pages of negative thoughts a day of things I was telling myself. And so then at the end of the day, the character had to sit down and write a truth beside the lie that you told yourself. So you had to balance it out every single day, right? And so I did that for a while. I would write down every negative thought I had about myself, and literally have to stop in the middle of doing something and be like, okay, write that down, right? And then at the end of the day, I would have to literally sit and reflect on the things I said to myself. But what is the truth? Because that can't be true, right? I use spiritual principles. You can use lyrics. You could use anything. But I think if we did that, and we actually, I bet we'd see trends. I saw patterns, obviously, there. And I was actually able to, when I was willing to dissect them, look at them and be like, okay, I know exactly where that came from. I can remember the moment of my life where that wound happened. And now here it is, a scab that just refuses to heal, right? That just keeps coming off, keeps coming off. I think there has to be a willingness to dissect ourselves, sort of, and unpeel those layers of the brain so that we can see where the traumas are and the hurts are, so that we can then figure out the medicine, so to speak, that we need to heal them.
I agree. And for some people, it's music. Some people, it's therapy. There's so many different options for people to help themselves. But yeah, you have to do that initial work.
The work. But the work hurts like hell, so nobody wants to do it.
It does. It does.
It fucking sucks. The work sucks. Which I think is why people are so much more willing, sometimes they pick people to dislike or to pick on or to talk bad about or think badly about, so they don't have to ever put the spotlight on themselves.
Right.
It's easier to go after other people. It's more comfortable to go after other people than deal with my own. Okay, let's see. How do I even gather the courage? I can't do it. I just can't get the courage. You can't get the courage to what? To look at your own shit? Will you kind of tell me what you mean by that? Yeah, find the places you get hurt. Yeah, physical therapy for your brain. That's so great.
Right.
Yeah, scared of what I'll see. Is it we're scared of remembering what other people have done, or are we scared of seeing the own damage we've caused ourselves? Like what, or both?
I think it's a combination. Nobody wants to tear themselves down to start to build again. And then you're going to say, oh, I did this mistake, I did that mistake, if I had done this different. Can't change the past. The only thing you can do is look forward,
right,
and improve on yourself.
Right. Yeah. I look at, there was a big hubbub, and I know I'm kind of chasing a rabbit a little bit, but I think I have a point. There was a big hubbub when Jungi came out with D-Day, and after the reveal of the scar. Like, he'd had the scar in the first, 2 chapters, and then we have the 3rd chapter, and we understand that it was self-inflicted. It was all these things going on, and people were like, don't wear the scar. They were trying to tell people, don't wear anything with the scar to his concert, because now we know why, da-da-da. Whereas I really saw that as scars are a badge of honor and a badge of courage and visible proof that you've healed from something. That's how I see scars. I see scars as a badge of honor. I don't see them as a place of shame. And people were automatically being like, oh, we don't want to remind him. But he wanted us to see, right? He wanted us to see the full process of the damage is done here, but the healing has occurred here. But people were so afraid of it, and people were so worried that it was going to cause more pain. And I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting that there was like this literal fight about wanting to ignore that this had happened. Yeah, the scars, the hurt, it proves that you've gotten over something. But we want to hide them. Which, how do you live authenticity and authentically when you're wanting to hide what you've overcome?
It's part of who you are. It's part of your makeup. One way or the other, if you decide to cover them with makeup, they're going to come through. So in some situation, it will come through.
I would say to Lee, I mean, she's saying, okay, or they're saying, I don't want to have the source of that pain. I'm scared. I can't find that courage. I envious. I think you can find the courage. I think it's just the right timing sometimes, maybe, or the right circumstances, or the right space. Yeah, Patricia wears her scars proudly. I can see that about Patricia, that she would wear them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's a badass. Like, when you're a badass, like,
we're badass.
I think that helps. Yeah. The other thing, so the other answer, I think, with how do we fix it, if you cannot manage to love yourself. So this was what a line from Answer Love Yourself. Let's forgive yourself now. Like, that's the answer right there. A lot of it is just forgive yourself for the stupid stuff, or the bad decisions, or the I picked the wrong person to tie myself to, or whatever the stuff is. It's a lot of it is you have to forgive yourself. Which
Hmm.
forgiving yourselves to me is a lot more difficult than forgiving other people sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's interesting. I mean, they're literally laying it out. And then the next line, or one of the next lines, is, why do you keep trying to hide under your mask? And a lot of that is shame. A lot of that is fear of judgment. But again, that's all. And I think I can't remember. I mean, in the project, we work in multiple weeks. So I know masks is either was last week or is coming up this week, where we talk really about a lot about masks and stuff. But BTS, so much of their stuff is about the mask. Fake, all the different things that they do is all about the mask. That's a universal thing that I think we've all done, we've all experienced, we've all spotted on other people. That I'm going to protect myself.
Right.
But how do you see your true self? How do you find your true self if you wear a mask so often you don't even know? I don't even know who I am at this point.
Yeah, Quince did a great job on the blog this week with fake love. He did it during the watch party.
Yeah. Okay, then it was this week. So I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to
Yep.
give too much away. I was like, maybe that's
Yeah,
next week.
no,
I
we
can't
did
keep
it.
up.
We did it. Quince did it this week.
Yeah.
And I mean, it talks about relationships with other people, but I feel that it's about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't be true to yourself, how can you move forward and be in a relationship or with a friendship, anything, and not
Right.
show your true self, because that's what they're reacting off of. So eventually, your true self will show.
Right. I have two different sets of lyrics from one song from Love Yourself that I want to read. First is from Suga, and then followed up right after that from J-Hope. And I actually teared up a little bit when I was writing this out, even though I've read them a million times, but because they are so Suga and J-Hope. I mean, they are so like who they are. Okay, so so guys, bear with me while I read this. So Suga's verse is, maybe I'm your truth and your life. Maybe I'm your love and hate. Maybe I'm your enemy and your friend. I think he's talking about himself. Okay, he's talking to himself. So maybe I'm all these things. Your truth, your lie, your love, your hate. I'm your enemy and friend. Your heaven and hell. Your pride and embarrassment. I can never take off the mask, because the me behind the mask is not the one you know. Okay? Make up to wake up today too, and dress up to mask on. In order to become the me that you love, in order to become the one that you love, I quit the shit that I like so much just for you. I put on clothes I hate, excessive makeup, because your laughter and happiness is the scale of my happiness. This is how I am. Do I deserve your love? I always make an effort to be the best for you. I hope you don't know this part of me. Okay, so that entire thing is, everything I do is trying to please this other person or this other part of myself, if he's talking to himself, right? And then here comes J-Hope sweeping in right behind him, just like, this is his part, just like always, mask on, greeting me with cheers, her. I'm your star. I shine as if nothing's wrong. But the moment I should shine the most, I take my mask off. Oh my gosh, just makes me think of Mom. Lost star. I'm laying down my burdens, enjoying the darkness. There's no lights to shoot at me as if it's killing me. Just going wherever my heart goes. However my senses lead me. Whatever doesn't hold me down. Tick-tock, the dark is over. Once again, to be your best. I'm going to cry. Once again, to be your best. I'm holding on to myself. Love makes a person go crazy. Yeah, this is a crazy guy's determination. Substituting myself to be the most me. For you, who is my everything. I'm giving you the answer I came up with, but that you love that. So through that, I'm making an effort. With your existence, I find new meaning, and the night shines. Now I know, even after the darkness, to me, you are the morning. You woke me up. Okay, now I am crying. Okay, but you see, like, God, I love Hobie. God, I love Hobie, and he'll be home in 68 days or something like that. But, I mean, not 68. Oh, God, I wish. 96. You see that, like, that dark part of Suga, right? That's, like, so kind of, like, wrapped up in that. And then here comes Hobie. Like, even though it's, like, there's a mask involved, to him, it's a hopeful thing.
Right.
Right? And I think that's so what we don't allow about ourselves is the dark and the light, which I know RM talks about that a lot. And I know a lot of the songs have to do with shadow, and you live in both worlds. And we allow that again for other people, but we don't allow it for ourselves. We feel like we have to be in light all the time. You can be in dark. You can be living through a shadow and still love yourself all through that process.
When you're at your lowest is when you really learn who you are.
Yeah. And that's why the people that are in the comments that are like, I don't want to go to that place. And I get it. I don't want to go to those places either. Like, who wants to go through pain and who wants to experience suffering? But usually it's in those darkest moments of your life. And then when you're at the absolute bottom, or you're in the absolute depth, or you're completely alone and you have nothing else, that you finally are at that place where you're like, okay, what do I have to lose at this point? Right? It doesn't usually hurt as bad as we think it's going to hurt. It can suck. But I think you kind of have to let yourself be in that darkness so that you can find your way out. Because I think that's where the strength comes from. It's climbing your own self out of it and knowing that you can. So that way when the shit comes again, you can say, I got out of this before. I can get out of it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And are you really...
Like, nothing's going to keep me down.
Right. And if everything goes good for you 100% of the time, that's not good either. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to have that up and down in order to be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's one of the things about idols. And I think they try to say that in their lyrics. Oh, that was... Somebody was asking. That was Love Yourself. That was the Love Yourself lyrics. But... You know, you like to look at idols, and in RM especially, I think Groin, we'll get to that in a second, is a real picture of that.
Yes. We
think you've got celebrity, you've got money, you've got looks, you've got talent, you've got all these things. So your life, you must be, you know, on cloud nine and happy and whatever. There's a dark side to that as well, right? We like to think that everybody else has it all together, and what we're seeing is happiness and joy, but they're still trying to figure their own self out. Like, I want to love myself. Like, RM has been struggling and struggling and struggling. Yeah, I'm the leader, and yeah, I'm speaking in front of the UN, and yeah, I have all this stuff, but God, I don't even like myself. And how do I do that?
So if somebody at his level is struggling just the same as us.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I would think that would even be more difficult. One of the novels that I wrote was about a celebrity who was so... I did it because I was in love with Robert Pattinson at the time, so it was almost my fanfic for Robert Pattinson. But I heard him say in an interview one time about all the Twilight stuff. They asked him, "What do you think about, you know, the fact that all these people love you and they're so obsessed with you?" And he said, this one line is why I wrote the whole book. He said, "If they love the character of me, if they truly knew me, they wouldn't love me at all." And so I think it's very interesting to think you can have all the love and adoration in the world, but if you know you've been wearing a mask the whole time, or felt like you had to put on a show or a role for everyone, then you're the whole time in the back of your head thinking, they don't even love me. They love a version of myself that's not even real.
Right.
And I can see how that would fuck with your brain.
When you and I had this discussion about this topic, what was the first song I said about lyrics?
Her.
Exactly. Exactly. Because in it's, I can never take off my mask because the me behind the mask is not the person you know. When I need to shine the most, I take off my mask. Mm-hmm. And that song has stuck with me through many, many trials. I love the lyrics of that song.
I had never really heard that song until you mentioned. I never really paid attention to it until you mentioned it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And then, of course, I went and I read it and I listened to it and bawled my eyes out. Isn't it interesting sometimes how hearing the truth in a song can just make can like hit your soul so deep that you just bawl your eyes out.
I can't listen
Especially
to Euphoria. I cannot listen to Euphoria without crying. Cannot.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, hold on. What's next on my... Okay, so then I also... Okay, hold on. I wanted to do this before we jump to... Okay, so I have this book because I don't have Leslie's compilation yet of some of these lyrics because we haven't hit that part yet. So this is the BTS book, the lyrics inside. And this one has Idol. Mm-hmm. And okay, so look at all my little sticky notes. Like you can tell, like this is my jam. If you're wondering why I'm doing this in the Coop thing, because I love all the other lives, I love everything that we do, but there's that part of me that just loves to really get deep into the meat shit, and this is meat shit. Okay, so there's a couple of points that it makes about Idol that I wanted to kind of read out loud because I don't know that everybody has this book. But they not only do they give you the lyrics, but they give you the whys as to why they chose some of the wordings that they chose. Some of them are more obvious. So in therapy, when you're talking to someone who's dealing with stuff, what you can really tell someone is you worry about your side of the street, right? You clean up your own shit. You don't worry about somebody else's side of the street. Let them worry about their own, cleaning up their own side of the street. And this was reminding me of this because the lyric says, what you keep babbling about, so mind your own business. So it says people sometimes babble on about BTS. BTS is responding to them by saying a more literal translation of just work on doing well yourself. And it takes me back to that old saying that Dr. Phil used to say, which is nobody's ever thinking about you as much as you think they are. You're right. So you're so worried about what everybody else thinks. You just worry about your own shit. I'll worry about my shit. You worry about your shit. And that's very freeing, I think, if you will get to the point where you're letting, where you're doing that. Another one that I loved about it is they said, let's see. So about masks. This is again about masks. They love this. Okay, so this is reference to the part of the song where he talks about John Woo, who was in Face Off, the movie Face Off. So you've got this hero that does these amazing things, but then you have Anpan Man, who is just sort of like he has no superpowers other than being kind and being those things. But he says, here BTS is saying that just like the characters in the movie, they can switch between many different identities, ranging from a top star with a spotlight or a superhero to a more down-to-earth hero, like Anpan Man, which I can never say correctly, so please forgive me. And I was thinking about our boys, and we joke about, so I wrote this down. This is what I wrote. Okay, hold on. This is what I was saying about dichotomy. We're always talking about, we see the two sides of people. To us, this is what I wrote. To us, the dichotomy that we are in awe about with the boys is how we have a Tata Mike Tay in one moment, and then the on Tay the next. Or we have the God of Destruction versus Ratmon, right? Who is a lyrical genius. We have a Gummy Smile, and then we have the growl that sends us to... Those all come from the same people, right? They have multiple sides. We are allowed to have multiple sides as long as they're authentic sides of ourselves. That's where the confidence in loving yourself grows. It's understanding I do have multiple sides. I can have a lot of... depending on who I'm with, depending on, where I am in my life, I can be all these things. And as long as I'm authentic in it, what's not to love? It's when I'm trying to hide shit and not be authentic that all those sides only steal our joy and only steal our self-confidence.
Right, and you can only keep yourself going with that persona so long before it affects you in such a way that I can't do this anymore. I have to be true to myself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a long road for me to learn as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a nightmare. Okay, so let's see, what else did I write down? In Epiphany, he says, the shining me, the precious soul of mine, I realize only now, so I love me. Though I'm not perfect, I am so beautiful. I'm the one I should love. I think the last step in that, in finding a way to love yourself, is accepting your weaknesses, accepting your flaws, knowing that you're not perfect, as nobody else is, And then that's when, right, I don't have to be perfect. Shels doesn't have to get the straight A's, right? We don't have to check off that list. And then when the weight comes off of the burden of the whatever those lies are, I think that's when loving yourself becomes something that we can manage. In my opinion, I'm not telling you that I have the answers.
I totally agree. And I think that once you realize, not a fault, but just something that you want to work on, people will come into your life that will help you grow. I really, really believe that. You take
Because
a
at
really
that
good
point,
look
do
at
you
yourself.
think when you're in a better
Okay.
place, you're able to then welcome the people in that you
Exactly.
need, that
You become open. Once
right.
you work, okay, I'm working, I don't have a lot of self-confidence. There will be somebody that will come into your life that will help you with that. You just have to be open.
Right. Which is interesting for someone like me because people legitimately scare me. So I'm going to give a very brief story, and I know they're not here because they don't like me. But there's somebody that's in our kind of membership and not in our team, but they cannot stand me. I don't know why I never did anything to me, but they obviously cannot stand me. And I don't care that they can't stand me, but like they'll be like in a space, like in study hall or whatever, and as soon as I get in there, they exit. And so now I don't even go in there because I'm like, people scare me. Especially people, I get nervous. Not of their judgment, but I just, so if I feel like someone doesn't like me, I'm like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to feel this awkwardness. Why don't you love me? You should love me. No. Yeah, people scare me.
I'm just the opposite.
And so that whole idea of dropping down to the point and becoming what I am so that more people can enter my life is like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
If somebody didn't like me, I would be the one saying, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
If it's just, you don't like the way I look, is it that I do, I would be the one getting down to the bottom of it.
Yeah. I'm the one that's like, I'd rather not know. What you think of me is not my business. Yeah, I'd kind of be like into that. Okay, so then we move it. So let's then move into the groin edition, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
The groin edition of this talk is, I don't give a fuck what anybody. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
There's
right?
a reason why he's my bias, because I really don't. I really don't. And I have.
Do you think that this was a new chapter for him? That he had just gone through that, where he's finally like, I don't give a like I've worried all this time, and now I don't give a fuck, and here's my anthem.
Yeah, that's exactly where he is. You know,
Yeah.
a lot earlier than most of us, but yeah, I think that's where he is.
But he also he's lived a lifetime in 13 years that's forced him to be there.
And he's only
where a lot of us can kind of we get the leisure league route of, taking our sweet time to figure our shit out,
Yeah, I think
not giving a shit is the hard part.
That release, I mean, his album is beyond amazing. Can you imagine what's going to come out in the next few years now that he has that freedom and he feels that? I can't wait.
No.
Can't wait.
Do you think he stays out there like that? Or do you think he kind of, I've said my piece, I'm going to,
I don't think you can go back. I don't think you can go back once you achieve that. At least I hope not, unless something so detrimental happens to you. But I think you're really going to see it when BTS gets back together. I think you're really going to see that part. And not just him. All of them.
Right. Yeah, because they all come out. Well, I think, maybe their leader being able to do it frees them up. I mean, they're all going to do it in their own way. And I think, Suga already has. I think J-Hope has quite a bit. I think Jimin is doing that through, through his albums. But, okay, so I'm going to read Groin, the lyrics to Groin. Because I think it's a great jumping off point for this whole thing. Because you can just hear the fed upness about life right now. Okay, so here they are. And I'm going to try not to sing. Some of these parts you just can't help but sing, and I'm going to try not to hurt your ears, and I won't sing them, or rap them. Okay, okay, here we go. So there are so many unlucky bastards in the world. So what? Just keep going your own way. There are so many incomprehensible bastards in this world. If I feel like I'll crash into them, I'll just step on it harder. I just fuck it up. Fuck it up, bitch. Like, I'm not trying to be like, fuck it up. I'm trying not to do, okay. I'm trying to do dramatic reading, okay? Okay, every time you know I fuck it up. Fuck it up, you dick. That's my favorite. Okay, this way I mess up again and again. I can't be a monk. Others' words always misunderstand me. Not a fucking diplomat. Now that life is a bit easier, they shove responsibilities onto me. What do I represent? I only represent myself. Before I die from anger, let's say what I have to say. If I don't like someone, I just go bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. I just go bang, bang. Whatever I do, you can't stop me now. Bang, bang. I see what I see. Me. I be what I be. Me. I'll set you free. Can't tell me nothing. I'm so far. What it do, just come. And then our favorite part, get your ass out of the trunk multiple times. I won't sing that part. But he does say at one point in between, don't care what you talking. Get your ass out of the trunk. We'll do the visual. Get your ass out of the trunk. Okay, you walk like a duck, bitch. It's my favorite. Okay, there are so many unlucky bastards in the world. So what? Just keep going on your way. There are so many incomprehensible bastards in the world. I just step on it harder. Just step on it harder. Yeah, I fuck it up. I fuck it up. Hate is harmful, but I suck it up. Now I'll go the other way to the cliff. Together with my brother, San Yon. I'll worry my mother. Maybe even above the law. No, never know. I'll live a good life, but you never know. Just lower your eyes, so don't provoke me. If you want to be friends, just pour me a drink. You dig? I see what I see. Me. I be what I be. Me. I'll set you free. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he walks you literally through the entire process, or tells you exactly how you do it if you just read the words, right? God. Note to self: need Plan B to be hiding in. Yes. Yeah, he's basically, I mean, I'm going to break this down a little bit to what I feel like he's saying. I'm not an expert. You know, talk to Katie, talk to the other people. They really kind of dig more into lyrics and what they mean. I'm just going to tell you what I think they mean to me. So when he says there are so many unlucky bastards in the world, so what? Just keep going your way. He's like, just do your thing. Like, just, everybody, a lot of people can have it worse. We all think we have our shit. Don't worry about it. Just fucking go. There's a lot of assholes in the world, basically, is what he's saying. There's a lot of people that are going to judge you. A lot of people are going to give you fucking grief. Just go your own way. Don't worry about them, right? You're not going to be able to stop the noise. No matter what you're doing. I've learned that in this project. The amount of shit that people are willing to give for you just trying to do something nice and fun is incomprehensible to me. But some people just can't stand that other people can be happy.
True.
Or be nice. Or be whatever.
Very
Don't
true.
you find that? It's just like, it's almost like your being happy disrupts their hating themselves.
Right. It just makes them feel worse.
Yeah.
And they want to know, why can't I feel that way? So like I said before, it's easier to bring somebody down than it is to build them up.
Yeah. So okay, hold on. So then he's saying, I can't be a monk. Like he's saying, I can't be perfect. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, he said that because of the monk that, and maybe that's part of it too. But I think what he's also saying is, I cannot be perfect for you. I cannot be perfect for you, and that has to be okay with me. So fuck all y'all and all your, what you think I need to be, and you think I need to be speaking for this, and you think I need to be doing that. I cannot be that for you, and that's finally okay for me.
Right.
I just got to be me. Now that life is a bit easier, they shove responsibilities on me. Almost like I can never get a break with you people. I'm never doing enough for you people. What do I represent? Myself, motherfuckers. I don't speak for all of you. I'm not your, your spokesperson. I'm just speaking for me. This is the line. Before I die from anger, let's say what I have to say. Okay, so that I think is a lot of it right there. A lot of it is I have had to choke all this down and not be able to speak my truth because I didn't want to upset the apple cart. But you know what? Here I finally get to go. You can either take it or leave it. Fuck y'all if you don't like it. But I have to get this out or I will die from the weight of it.
I think he got to the level where he proves that he doesn't have to wear that mask. He doesn't have to fill that leader role. He doesn't have to be perfect. And he finally let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he got a lot more.
Maybe you're right. He's ripped up in the can of worms. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is, again, kind of what we say? Do you think it was he took the expectations placed on them and owned those himself? Or do you think those are ones that he came with already? Like, I need to be this thing. Or do you think it was a combination of both?
I think since the day he said he would be the leader, he took that on and put the pressure on himself.
Mm-hmm.
And just ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 6 said, okay, take it, June.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a great leader.
And here's what's funny, because Wendell had just said, I'm glad he was finally able to let it out. Just think of holding all that in for 11 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. Look how happy we are that we can look at other people and be like, I'm so glad you let that go. I'm so glad you finally got to say your piece. But we don't say that for ourselves.
Right.
We think we have to hold it all in. We think we have to be fake. We think we have to be detached. Whatever our mechanism of self-protection is, we think we have to be that way, but we rejoice when other people finally let it all go.
Right. It's all back to self-reflection, which is the hardest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see what else he says. I love what he said. Okay, whatever I do, you can't stop me now. Just bang, bang. That's almost like, and I think it's said in here, like Sugar or as August D, he's saying, just go faster. If you're going to hit, just go faster, and that's one of the things that I've been able to do in the things that I've tried to do in my life is I can have all the thoughts in my head. I can have all the negativity in my head. You can get all the doubters. You can get all the whatever. But sometimes you just have to shut up and jump. You just got to go. You just got to run. You just got to do it anyway. Do it scared. Do it pissed. Do it, fucked up. Do it whatever. But just do it. And then eventually you figure it out as you go.
And there's always
I think that's what they did.
Yeah, there's always going to be obstacles. There's going to be people that are saying, what are you doing? Why are you like this? So the bang bang is like shooting down each one of those on the way.
I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so then what do you think he means by get your ass out of the trunk?
Stop being behind everybody else. Put yourself up front.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, see, that just shows the different, because mine, I think I think he's saying, which I don't know, mind your own business. Like, worry about yourself.
This whole song is about him coming out and not giving a fuck. So,
yeah, we got a Weverse notification just for the record.
Finally, stop being behind everybody and put yourself first and put yourself up front.
Yeah. Let's see what else he's saying. Okay, so the Weverse notification is Jimin has a new little teaser. Don't leave us for that yet. We'll be done in a minute. Let's see.
Right, Nanny.
So the part where he's saying, I see what I see, me. Mm-hmm. I be what I be, me. I'll set you free. So to me, that's the self-reflection, right? Of I'm willing to see I'm seeing, what I see is finally me.
Right.
That's how I interpret that.
I agree. Himself.
I be what I be.
Right.
Yeah, which is I'm going to be who I am.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which a lot of us wear that.
The thing and here's the thing that I love about this. It doesn't feel like, I wrote down, I said, I see people who say they don't give a shit. They don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. And so I wrote this. I said, I see people who do that. And I see people who act like they do. And they look completely different. You can tell the difference between the people who truly don't give a fuck and the people who say they don't give a fuck, but they so obviously do. Like, one comes with bravado and one comes with humility.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like the bravado is, I'm all out here. I'm going to, look at me. I'm saying it with my whole chest. I'm putting my, that to me is obvious overcompensation. You are trying to prove to everybody else that you don't give a shit when you so obviously do. When you're able to say, I don't give a fuck in a more kind of chill way, to me, that shows the honesty of it. It's when you have to like be like, look at me. That to me is like screams
lack of confidence,
inauthenticity of not giving a fuck.
Absolutely.
I want to look like a badass. I'm not a badass. Yeah, bravado is the mask. Yes. I put the louder you are about your confidence, the less I believe you. That's just me, but that's what I put. Are you trying to convince me or yourself?
Yourself.
Which, that's my own thing, but I'm entirely, to be honest, without hurting people. It's entirely possible to be honest without hurting people. Absolutely. Right. If your I don't give a fuck is more about, therefore, I can be a complete dick and not care the damage that I cause, that's fake. If it's, I don't give a fuck, and therefore, I don't need to make my voice heard constantly. I don't need to prove how right I am. Then that to me is the realness of I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck is not, now I don't give a fuck so I can go treat everybody else like shit.
Right.
Right?
That's not it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Is it that you truly don't care? Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's the other thing. The thing that I think at one point I thought I had come to a place in my life where I didn't care what people thought, or I could live that I don't give a fuck. But I realized that I was lying to myself. What it really had become for me was a way to detach myself from the feeling of not feeling like enough. So I was lying to myself and being like, I don't care. And going home and going in the corner and sucking on my thumb and crying, because my feelings were hurt. So it was a form of it was a self-defense mechanism to tell myself I don't care.
And being vulnerable is hard.
Yeah.
Showing people you're vulnerable is very hard.
Do you think that showing your vulnerability is actually proof of not caring? Because there are consequences that come with being honest and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment comes with that.
I mean, you can have that attitude and, you can support people, but expect the same in return. That same attitude you give out is the one you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Patricia, she's saying vulnerability is the bravest thing. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And I think, Mary Laura is going live tomorrow night at I think she said 9 or 10 Eastern, I'm not sure. And she's going through some things and she wants to hold a space for people to come. And my first, and this is what I told the admin team, my first inclination was if it's public, I don't feel safe, because there are people that are going to love on you, but then there's also going to be those few people that are going to be like, oh, look what she, you know what I mean? Like, that's my fear. And that's from my own trauma in the past, that my own issues that I felt vulnerable enough to share and I shared were then later used against me. And so you kind of get feared, but you can't really live in that space of being fearful of the few when you might have many who something that you've said, some authenticity that you show is actually healing to somebody else. Right?
I agree. I totally.
And if somebody wants to be a dickhead and use it against you, that's on them.
No, I agree.
And it's courageous for her to not only say, I'm going to come forward and I'm going to share that I'm going through this hard place, but I'm going to give a space for everybody else to go through that hard space as well.
And it's great that she's doing that. And I get that a lot, especially with in Discord and the friendships that I've made through the project. We have a lot of these discussions because we're all different. We all see things differently. Mm-hmm. And being vulnerable is really hard with people, but somehow this project makes it a lot of safer space.
Yeah. I'm glad. That makes my heart happy. Yeah, I said other people's opinions are none of my business. I think that's basically what he's saying in a lot of ways. And then Idol says, obviously, I know what I am. I know what I want. I'm never going to change. I'm never going to trade. There are some non-negotiables, and that's okay. And I think that has to be. You can say the shit you're going to say. People are going to always say it, right? They're always going to give you a hard time. But I know who I am. And I think that's why you have to do the love yourself first part first before you can do the I don't give a fuck part.
Absolutely.
Because you have to know enough about who you are and what you stand for and what it is that there is, I mean, the specialness that you bring to the table. So that when somebody else tries to shit all over it, you're like, eh. But you can't do that. You can't do the groin part without the love yourself part. They go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And I'm always learning, always evolving, always want to get better. So I've gone through the love yourself, and I am definitely in the I don't give a shit mode in my life. But I'm also not going to not listen to somebody who has, you know, a different opinion. I might be able to take something from that.
Right. I think I'm still in the love yourself part, although I think I'm getting somewhat better at it. I have always been someone who's willing to do a lot of introspection. And so I do, and almost to the point of doing it too much. Like, if I'm in the middle of something, or you know, at odds with something, I will almost overanalyze it to kind of make it make sense in my head, and to the point that I'll drive myself crazy, right? And trying to, like, what did I do? And sometimes it's just a very simple answer, but I've my husband always says, like, your mind, you can create 767 ways something's going to go bad. Like, I'm always like, okay, this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen. And none of those scenarios are positive that are going through my head. Because I overthink it. And a lot of it, if something's not going right with someone, I will work that thing out and call it introspection, but I will figure out a way that it's all my fault. And then I'm the one that carries the weight of it. I'm the one that carries the shame of it. That's what I'm working on now. If other people have their side of the street to clean, I don't take full responsibility for bullshit. Right?
Right.
And that's where I am right now. Like, I've dealt with this thing, now I'm dealing with that thing. Like, I'm willing to take my blame on shit, but I'm not going to carry all of it.
Good. No, that's a good place to be right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, idol. Here's the other thing I liked about idol. There are tens and hundreds inside me. They're all me after all. So I just run rather than worry.
So I just run rather than worry.
What do you think that says?
I guess running is his continual path. And not worrying about what other people say.
Not letting anybody else
take you
push you off. Yeah, you just keep going, walk away. Okay, YOLO. Yep. Now I'm doing this. The thread. I need to. Let's see what people are saying. What do you guys think what does that mean to you? So I just run rather than worry. Running maybe is continuing with life. Or it could just be a part of that process. Avoidance at first. Just keep going. Pay no mind to others. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of that way. I think that, to me, them saying that, so I just run rather than worry is... And I think I also, again, put that with the August D lyric of, you know, just go faster, is whatever you got to do to be able to ignore outside noise that keeps you on the path that you need to be on, whether it's the path of self-discovery or loving yourself or loving others or whatever that, or you've got a goal in mind or you've got a business you're trying to run or a dream you're trying to fulfill. If you even slow down to the point that you can hear the bullshit going on from others, then you're going to lose momentum and you may not make it to the destination. Right. So it's just go. And don't let, all the other shit
and it's
slow you down.
It's going to happen. Right. You're going to have roadblocks. You're going to have things happen. It's how you react to them.
And it's almost like, way tired of saying about running. I just had the thought, it's almost like I've never accomplished this, but supposedly there's a runner's high that you can get. Running is like hell on earth for me, so I would never reach that. But apparently there's like a runner's high where you don't feel the pain anymore, or you don't, you kind of get in that zone and you're just going. And then that's the place that I'd like to find myself. That runner's high of life, which is I'm able to just do the things and not feel all the bullshit and hear all the bullshit and have it affect me in any way. And I cannot pronounce what that says. If you're still looking for your own truth without running, you might look behind again and stop. True.
Right.
You're so right, Ellen. I mean, like if you're trying to accomplish something and you're constantly looking back, you can't really run forward and look back simultaneously. I feel like I'm in a women's Bible study. I'm sorry. I know that's my background, so I can't help it. I'm sorry. I did ministry for so many years that I can't get it out of my blood. I can't get it out of my blood. This is why when I do my runs, I am so happy. Oh, Piper, I'm so jealous of you. Yeah, I can't do that. And then I wrote, you do your thing, you run your race, you clean your side of the street, you learn to love yourself so the opinion of others don't matter. And then I put this kind of love. The not to be enamored with myself love. The not to be impressed with myself kind of love. That's all haughty and prideful. Mm-hmm. I want the love that's deep, where it's you understand yourself and you accept yourself. To me, those are completely different types of loving yourself. Yeah. I want the kind of love for myself that offers grace and offers forgiveness and offers acceptance and understanding. And then I think if that's the kind of love that you have for yourself, then that's the kind of love that you project and offer to others.
Absolutely.
If your love is, look how great I am, aren't you just impressed by, I got it all together, nothing bothers me, then the attitude that you give to others is, I'm superior to you because I'm so great that you really can't offer me much. And I'd rather be this one over here. That the love for myself is so true that I can't help but push that out onto others, and then hopefully help them find the same for themselves. Have they not found it yet? That's my dream for myself. And
get that back at you. Get the same
right, and then you feed each other that positive kind of cycle.
Exactly.
And the other nice thing about that is like friends like you, Shels, and the people that you find in your life, that if you live in that circle, that when you are running low on that grace for yourself, mm-hmm. that other person is able to go, no, remember, like they give you enough and they give it back to you, and they remind, and it's like that cycle, and you feed each other, and you fulfill and you help each other stay in that place of grace.
And sometimes it's just picking up the phone and saying hello. All you need to do is hear that person's voice. You know, mm-hmm. You and I experience mm-hmm. that quite often. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just the other person answering the phone.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay. Maybe that's why I call you at the end of a work day. I need that. Okay. It's all okay. Oh, yeah. Leave space for grace. I love that. You can always find truths from other people and learn something from them. That's amazing.
Yes. Absolutely, Angel.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes. We've only been going for an hour and 16 minutes. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's impressive. Okay, so let's take a few minutes. If anybody kind of has, they have a thought, or they have a question, or they have something, ask to join us. I'll bring you up. We can talk for a minute or two. I'm going to do it like in small increments, though, guys, so that we can let other people take part. But if you want to be a part and you have something to say, you have an experience, then just request to speak. And I'll see if I can figure out how to do this. I think I had a problem with this last time, but we figured it out. And I'm like 50 first dates. Like, I got to do it again and again every day because I'll forget between them. So. Before I join anybody else up here, Shells, you got other stuff. I think I rambled, so I'm sorry. So do you have anything you want to add?
I was reviewing the comments of your TikTok where we started talking about this, and Fluffy and Busan put, people who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. And I thought that was an amazing comment.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
Surround yourself
Yeah.
with the people that are going to support you.
I think one of the things, and I read, reading through all the comments too, and I don't want this to sound haughty. I'm not really saying this as a place of pride. I'm truly saying this as a place of, it was an eye-opener for me, and it was really a beautiful thing to me. But one of the things I realized about the project is that and I think it's not just the project. I think it's the guys and the lyrics and all the life lessons and the love and all the things. I'm not saying it's the project that does this, but it is a fact that when you, number one, find a space where you feel loved and accepted, and that helps you in your own journey. But also, when you find a place that you can be passionate about something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Freely passionate about something, and you allow that place in your soul that needs that excitement, that needs that something to look forward to every day. All of that kind of internally churns you up to the point that now I'm so happy and I have so much joy over here. I can actually kind of deal with the shit that hurts a little bit because I've got this other side. But when everything in your life just seems and negative and weary and weighted down, it's really hard to then be willing to open up the things that you know are only going to make that feel worse. And so what I love about this is I love that we're in this place where we provide, and by we, I'm not saying the project, I'm saying we as in the people that are part of it, all of us together. We bring joy to each other and excitement and passion, and we're looking forward to the future, right? We're always, like, we've got the countdowns going, we've got so much to look forward to, and all this positivity that can give us a place to find joy and peace and all those things, so that if we have to deal with shit, we've got the opposite that can also kind of keep us
right. We have our tribe
balanced, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that about it. Okay, so let's see. Has anybody? Okay, nobody's asking to join, so that's good, I guess. Everybody's at peace. Teresa, I thought you wanted to be invited up. Let's see. I'm gonna find Teresa. Hold on. I'm gonna invite you, Teresa.
There you are.
Because you came in the comments and you were like, pull me up.
Yeah,
I'm going to share my experience. So here you are.
Yeah, here I
Hi,
am.
Teresa.
I don't know how to turn on my camera though, so
That's okay.
I mean, this is my first time. I've never done anything like this before, but you guys make me feel comfortable. That's one of the things that I wanted to come up here and say. I mean, really and truly, I've gone through, like everybody else, I've gone through a lot of crap in my life, like so much. And it took me many years, and I still struggle to love myself. And I struggle with that still, but I figure if I can love myself for like at least one day, I'm at least accomplishing something.
Mm.
And I also think um, these men have brought me to the, I'm not even sure how to say it, but I realized that I can be myself and I don't care what other people think anymore. And you
I'm
guys
so
help me
glad.
with that too. I don't have to wear a mask. I've had many masks. I've had a lot of things that I had to pretend to be. And I don't want to do that no more. And some people, so far, everybody's been very open of like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're finally who you are. And I look forward to all these kind of things. And I was like, cool, because this is who I am. If you don't like me, go on down the road. I just don't care anymore. So,
That's awesome.
Was there a particular moment that you kind of realized that you're like, wow, I've kind of came to this place where, yeah, if you don't like it, move on? Or do you think it was like just a very gradual I mean, how do you think that realization hit that you'd come to that place?
um, I think really I got to a point where I felt kind of like rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm like, I am so tired. I just don't, I'm just tired. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired of being this person for so and so and this person. And I'll be honest, I go to therapy, and my therapist said to me, just think you can now find yourself. You can be whatever you want to be. So, I
Mm.
mean, I up and moved away, and I changed every single thing about my my life. And she goes, well, now you can be whatever you want. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're right. And I realized there was a lot of things that I was hiding, not and not anymore. You guys see my
Mm.
TikToks. That's
Mm-hmm.
me. You don't
Yep.
like it? Too bad. 'Cause that's who I
Right.
am, and I can't even hide that. I can't hide and pretend not to care or not to cry or not to. That's just who I am right now. It's who I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And uh, I enjoy being that. I have so much fun being who I am right now. And yeah, if that makes any sense at all.
It
Well,
does.
and I think it's been
It
interesting
absolutely
for
does.
us on this side to watch you on your journey and to see you, start doing the videos and stuff has been like a very healing thing for us. I think on our side because there's always that's why we like movies and that's why we like stories and that's why we like songs with lyrics and storylines. We like to see people's processes because it gives us hope that we can accomplish the same things. And I think through you being so vulnerable and you being willing to put yourself out there and show, then I think you show other people that they too can do this. You know?
Well, I mean, yeah, I hope so, because really that's part of it. Because I just want you guys, I mean, to yeah, be true to yourself, and being true to myself and doing some of these things. I found so many friends, and I found so much acceptance. Um, I mean, it's amazing because I never thought that. I never thought
Mm-hmm.
that at all, that anybody would even care what I said.
Mm.
And now I realize, you know what they do, and I'm not boasting because I mean,
Right.
I'm just glad somebody actually likes something and really appreciates it and not just faking it.
Right. Right. Do you
But it's
think?
not easy. I still
Can I
have
ask you a
trouble.
question?
Yeah, you
So
can
you
ask me
said
whatever you want.
you said I thought that nobody would care what I say or nobody would care what I think. Does
Yeah.
that come from a place in the past where people treated you as if what you said was not important or not, you know what I'm saying? Like your opinion didn't matter, you didn't
Yes.
matter?
Yes. My kids' dad. I had a I had a really, really bad marriage. Like
Mhm.
you think of it, it has happened to me. I won't go into that, but
Mhm.
and he beat me down in so many different ways. I just nope. I never thought anybody would ever care at all
Mm.
what I looked like, what I said, what I felt. Sorry. And that took me many, many years. I still struggle from time to time with that, but I
Mhm.
realized, you know what? I just, as long as I can just finally be myself,
Mhm.
um, I don't care. I
Mhm.
don't care what other people think or
That's
what they
amazing.
see anymore. I mean, it took like Sid, and it's funny because I always was worried that my kids would be like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought mom was like that type of person." And well, you know what? They don't think that at all. I mean, you see my daughter
Right.
a couple times on there, and it's funny because as they don't, they're just so glad. Everybody that knows me is so glad that I can finally be who I am.
Do you think you had to reach a low point to find the high point? Or do you
I
think,
did. I don't know if anybody else does, but I did. I had to. I felt probably not really, but for me, it took that low point for me to go, shoot. I don't want to do that no more. I am tired of faking it.
mhm,
It's too exhausting to fake
mhm.
it.
True. Very
Yeah.
true, Teresa.
Well, I think for people that, like go through AA or programs like that, it is that whole you have to kind of reach the rock bottom before you're really willing to be like, okay, fine, I'll do whatever I have to do to be better, to figure my shit out. And so I think that's part of it's part of the sadness of our culture, maybe, or however, but we are so afraid of the pain, and we are so afraid of what comes with the self, and looking at ourselves, and that we don't actually ever get the other side of the joy and the healing, because we don't want to go to that place, when in actuality it's going to that place that allows you to find to make
Yes,
that journey up.
it is. It's very scary. It is
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. And that's why I think therapy is so important, because you have somebody to go on that journey to safely walk you, through that journey. I know that for me, when I was working on getting my master's to be a counselor, I wanted to do a type of therapy where you literally use storytelling to process your shit, which it basically means, and I think I'm going to write a blog post about this, and I don't know if it will belong on the AP blog or if I need to start my own thing, but about creating storyline and putting yourself in a situation, a character, not yourself. You put them in that situation, and then you help that character process through and work through the grief, work through the trauma, work through whatever, and through helping them figure out the right
Figured it
way to
out.
do it. There you are.
I
You
figured it out. I'm
yourself
learning
are
things
able
every
to do
day.
that. Look at you. Look at you.
Ugh. Yeah, don't look at me. No, I'm just joking.
No,
Yeah,
you're
I
here.
figured it
That's
out.
awesome.
Now, how to figure out to get off of here would be a whole nother new thing.
I'll just
So,
boot you. I'll just
okay,
boot you.
good. Yeah, just boot me. Just kick me right in the butt and get me out. Like, get off.
I mean, to me, when I watch you, if I were to go back and I were to watch the first videos that you did, even, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, because I mean it completely in a place of awe and love. You're almost a completely different. You're not the little shy, the meek as you were. You are like out and happy and proud, and I'm putting myself. I mean, it's a really fascinating thing to have watched. I'm in awe and I'm in love with you, because you've done that, and I think that's it. You are a visual representation of what I think BTS is trying to say through their lyrics. I think.
Well, thank you. I mean, like I said, I now, um, those first video, I know I haven't gone back and looked at the first videos because I know what they look like. Um, and I was like, nope, because I'm moving forward. I'm not looking back.
Well, you were
Uh,
beautiful as ever, so don't think badly. It's
but
just
but
your
now when I
countenance
do,
was different.
yeah, I mean, I feel more, and I feel like you guys have done that. The men, the boys have done that. You guys have done that. Made me feel confident and accept it.
Mm.
Um, and for me, it means a lot. And so I'm like, you know what? I need to do more because
Oh
you
wait, you're
guys just
muted. Oh, there you
like love me for me.
go.
And
Mm-hmm.
did I unmute?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guys love me for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
We
I'm
do.
like, you know what? I need that. And
Mm-hmm.
when I got in my accident, and I just wanted to let you guys kind of know what was going on. I had somebody every day go, "Hey, how are you doing? Um, are you okay? Just checking on you." And I never had that with like anybody. And it was
Right.
just like, "Oh my gosh, you guys really care." And it was great. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep doing this because
Yeah.
I found my people." I say
Yeah.
that a lot. I know I say that a lot, but
Well,
I
all the
found my people.
Jimmins, we have all of our little Jimmins in our community, and all the Jimmins were coming out, checking on you, making sure you were.
Yeah, and it was great. It was the best, and that's not why did it. Um, but it was great to realize that there were people that don't really know me, wanted to make sure that I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to make sure if just one person sees something that I do, to realize you guys can do it too. If I can do it, you guys can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And just do it.
So then, how do you now take the journey that you've been on, and now walk that with other people? Like, pay it forward. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
or is it
Uh,
just I live the life, the authentic life that I lead? I lead by example, and that in and of itself encourages other people to do the same. I mean, kind of like, what do you feel about that?
I mean, I think a little bit both. I've had people in many people throughout my life say, "Oh my gosh, you've gone through so much stuff. You just," and I'm so like, "Wow, I can't believe that you are still doing this and you're still moving forward." I'd be like in my bedroom, like crying or whatever. I never
Mm-hmm.
thought of it that way. Some of it's not always good, because you just
Mm-hmm.
do it, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just do it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have a choice.
Right. I'm
But
adding Jocelyn as well to the conversation.
I I should get off. I've been on here too long.
No, you
Um,
haven't.
but it's just this is just who I am. And so if that's what people see, like, oh, you're just so brave. You're so like you just keep pushing yourself. If that helps somebody, okay. But I'm not always that way. There are days when I am in my room and I don't want to do. Oh, my dog, the neighbor's dog's barking. I don't want to get up and do anything. But I realize, you know what? That's not really who I am all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more just, well, that happened. Let's go on. And I always try, at least out of everything that's happened, find one positive thing, and that's what I'll tell people. That's what I've told my kids. I've told my grandkids. Sometimes they get mad at me because I'm always finding one positive thing about something that's happened.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but they still come to me and ask me stuff and hope that I can fix something, which is kind of amazing to me because I'm like, I can't fix that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just find one positive thing. That's kind of how I go.
That's amazing. Well, it's just funny to me because I'm sitting here looking at you laying back in your little lounge chair
In
with
my
your
little chair.
shades
Yeah.
on, just living your best life. It just makes my heart really, 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 really happy. I'm really happy. Hey, Jocelyn,
Hey,
Hi.
Joyce.
How are
what
you
are you
guys?
thinking? What are you thinking? Share
I'm
with us.
thinking I want to go back to something that was going on in the beginning, and Steph touched on this about, because you're the head of the project, you're the face of the project, you're who people have been seeing since the very beginning of all of this. And someone said, how can people not like you because you were talking about that? And I can relate to that because I've always been confident. And I've always, been out there and loud and, just nuts and not afraid to step forward. I mean, I've actually gotten more so in the last few years since I finally have embraced some things. But I go back to realizing that that's also another form of masking. Some of
Mm,
us, for me, it's putting that, what I call the face, putting the face out there in front of people that's a kind of a shield of what's going on back here. It
mm-hmm.
doesn't stop me from being um, feeling like I'm being bombarded by negativity and trying to screen it, but it all still filters back there. It was still in my head.
Right.
So it wasn't until I finally got to a point, and unfortunately it's only been within the last few years, where I realized, what, I don't have to take this crap anymore. I don't have to always be the one that says yes to everything, that is the first one to step up to volunteer, that is willing to take on 12 projects. And part of that was encountering an adult diagnosis of ADHD.
Mm,
I thought I was losing my mind. And I went to a therapist, and I've been in and out of therapy for years. And I've always been heavy, and I've always had certain issues. And this gal looks at me and she goes, "Have you ever been screened for ADHD?" And I looked at her like she'd grown another head, because I had that assumption that a lot of us do, that the presentation of ADHD was the kid that couldn't sit still in school, that couldn't behave, that was always in trouble. Well,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't know that, especially women tend to manifest it in a different way. We are the studious ones, the teacher's pets, the ones that are always on top of the things, the yes people, and we learn. I see it as juggling. We learn to just juggle so many balls. And
Mm-hmm.
what had happened for me is, as I got older, and whether it was physiological or what, my system finally said, you know what? We can't do all of this anymore. And as I started to fumble and those balls started to drop, those spinning plates started falling off the sticks and crash into the ground, that I thought I was losing it. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so just at the end. And I started to just get angry, and I'd come home from work and be just a flaming hot mess to my husband, and I couldn't figure it out. Well, come to find out that, hey, look how ADD presents, especially in
Interesting.
girls and women.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that was just pushed aside because people didn't see it. They didn't realize it. Girls didn't generally get screen for ADD. It just wasn't a thing.
Right.
So,
It was considered
so I
a boy problem, a little boy problem.
exactly, exactly. So after some more therapy and a lot of work with medication, because it took me a long time to find what worked for me, I finally was able to start seeing things more clearly. And a really good older book, if anybody is looking for a book that'll help them with adult ADHD onset, it's fairly old, but it's a good one. So hit me up on a DM if anybody wants more info on that. And I don't sell it or nothing. I just tell people about it. But I learned that the mask, I am a happy and confident person. I am. But what happened is that I learned to use this. I learned the skills to reinforce that screen, to really deflect more of the negative, let less of it in. And I still struggle with it, and I know I will always struggle with it. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to get past this. I want to be done with being this way." Well, I'm sorry, folks. We're human beings. We
Right.
don't get to get done with being this way because we aren't automatons. We can't filter that out. We can't change our code to say we're no longer affected by this,
Right.
because human nature means that it is what it is. So do I still fight? I do. There's times when, if I feel like I can't put on the face, then you might not see me on TikTok for a while, because the old habits tell me you're not worthy of this. No one cares. It doesn't matter. So, and then I go back to the old, well, then I'll just shut up. I'll just shut up, which
Yeah.
again is destructive, because you stop saying the things that need to be said. So it's just, people say double. Mine's more like a Chinese throwing star. I've got like 8 points that continually
Right.
spin that I have to fight against, letting them damage that and letting me step backward. Anyway, again, I
I
can
think
go
that's
on forever about
one of my
this, but
deflections as well. Is I will just stop talking. I'll be like, fine. I won't engage. I won't give my opinion. I won't. Which you, me, everybody has just as much right to be heard as anybody else. But I think sometimes when people, here's my question for you, as someone who you carry, you're confident, you know who you are. That's obvious, and I love that about you. Do you think that scares some people, and therefore the attitude you get back is that you're the problem when actually
yes.
it's their own insecurity?
Yes. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, where this hits me the hardest is at work. Because I've been doing my job for 15 years. I love my job. My own boss tells me I'm the guru when it comes to the type of information I work with. And so I'm anxious. I want to train people. And for a while, they weren't letting me do it. And recently they started to. And I just get so excited. I want people to love my work as much as I love my work. And therefore, I want them to understand. I don't necessarily want them to be like me,
Right.
but I want them to have the same skill set. And what was tripping me up until recently, I realized, is I can't expect everyone to be like me. Not everyone thinks like I do. I've got this weirdly wired brain, and I spin out in different areas in 15 different boxes, so now instead of juggling balls, I got a zillion boxes. But, it's kind of like RM in his video where he's going around there in the maze, kind of popping up here and there. But I finally had to realize that my style does come across as aggressive and bossy, because I get so excited about it. I
Right.
want people.
Right.
And so it does come back to me where I feel like, and even recently, I have a trainee that I felt good and that we connected in the training process. But when we moved out of that environment for the longest time, she didn't interact with me at all. Didn't come to me with questions, barely even said hello to me in the morning, that kind of thing. And I'm like, the old voices kicked in, and I'm like, what did I do? Does this person not like me? Were they shining me on while we were training, just trying to make a good impression? What's up with that? And I had a couple of conversations with my supervisor, and we just finally came to the conclusion that she has a very different learning style. She is a very different person in terms of how she carries herself. I don't want to say she's introverted, because I don't know her well enough to say that. But I do realize now that I do come across as a very forceful personality, and some people just aren't comfortable with that. Now, conversely, I've learned the same thing about myself. If I am with a group of strong personalities, which does happen, and I have to say, I love Leslie, y'all know I do, but she's a very strong personality, and she won't mind me talking out of school about this because we've talked about it, is sometimes I just have to pedal back and realize everybody needs an opportunity.
Right.
to have that platform, to be on that dais for a bit, to do what they're going to do. So I
Right.
just have to learn how to wait for my opportunity, for when the moment is right for me to step up and do a bit more. But it's still very daunting with me if I'm in a group of also
Yeah.
stronger personalities.
Yeah. I'm very much like you. I'm in a group, our admin team. They're all very strong personalities. I'm very much like you. My personality will be, if everybody, I will just, okay, I'll be silent. I'll kind of look, kind of go into my own shell and let everybody else sort of have the floor.
Right.
I'm that way with everything. I'm that way with anything that I do. If I feel like somebody else feels like it's more important for them, obviously, to be heard, I don't need to be heard. But I almost stay in that spot too long. Does that make sense? Like, and then, but my
Yes.
voice is still
Yes.
needed, but I will completely remove it and almost not re-engage for quite some
Yep.
time, because I feel like,
Yep.
well, everybody else, and I'm not saying that about the project, but I'm saying just in general, my personality, I do it at work, I do it everywhere.
Right.
And I think people like you and I, maybe and I'm that way too with I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big thinker. Some people just can't handle that, right? I mean, and I'm a lot. I get it, because I am. I'm like, oh, we could do, what if? I used to be
Yep,
called the
yep,
what if girl.
uh-huh.
Like when I would work on movies and stuff, they were like, you're the what if girl, because everything's, well, what if we did that? To where when I'm saying what if, everybody else is like, oh shit, how do we make that happen? You know what I mean?
Here
Like,
we go
so,
again, yeah.
and so, yeah, Shels doesn't do that to me, which is nice. But, and it doesn't mean that every idea that I think I have is actually going to happen. I just like to have the moment of what if, but that can be a lot. And I think, so people like our personalities, we notice that. And so I think we're even more willing or more afraid with that when we know we can get to that big place, we shrink ourselves almost in an effort to make everybody else feel more comfortable.
Right. And for me, especially, it comes down to that I'm an idea person. Ideas roll around my head, and I don't always filter, and I'll just start spitting stuff out. But yet I have such deep admiration for people who can take that stuff and run with it.
Run with it,
Especially,
yeah.
especially have to say when it comes to the arts and craftsy things, because I have a disconnect. I'll see something in my head and think, oh, I want to do this. But somewhere as it filters down into my hands, it usually ends in knots, paper cuts, cursing, and bloodshed, because
Right,
I've
right.
tried to do this and I can't. And then I get mad at myself because I can't make it work. So
Right.
ideas are a similar
You
thing.
need the
I'll have
other
a thought.
people.
I need
Yeah.
the people, like what I've
Yeah.
watched, seen, and what I've learned about y'all in the project and the executive team, understanding how y'all kind of come together, all the different skills, and you've made it work so that it all just merges together to be one strong group that
Right.
makes the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
And I so admire stuff like that. So yeah, I'll tend to shut up because everybody else is going to be like, oh great, here's more ideas. And here's
Same.
more stuff that we're
Same.
going to be expected to deal with. It's like, I don't expect you to deal with it. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm just throwing it
And
out there. That's right. That's
I'm-
why I always joke and say Shels is my first verbal diarrhea place. And then I feel like if I actually have a valid or a possible viable option, then I'll take it to everybody else, because yes, then you need everybody else to come together and go like, okay, well, how does this get done? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that a team and people that get you and you get them, like I've always had ideas, but I can't actually do those ideas by myself, especially. You know what I mean? Like I need the people around me and the people that will have enough faith in my brain to be like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, that could work. She's crazy, but that could work. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. It makes it fun. And so I can see what you're saying, like, especially for that person that you were training. Sometimes I think, we love something, we're passionate about something, we get something, and that passion and that excitement intimidates the people that don't quite have that yet.
Right.
And I think sometimes it causes them to go into a place of, oh, is something wrong with me that I don't feel that way? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because it's that social disconnect when you start getting out there among other people and you learn to start to recognize the differences and going and taking that step from where you used to be, where you're like, oh my God, they're just all not getting it, to stopping and thinking, I have to stop and breathe and just go, okay, everybody's not like me. Let's stop
Right.
looking from my own vision, this pink-hued glasses that want to see everything and everyone like I am, to
Right.
everyone having their own voice, their own color, their own ability, and how can we make those work together? If that makes sense.
It's the very thing that we admire about the 7, right? They're all so uniquely different. I mean, we look at Jimin and we're like, I want to be a friend like Jimin. I want to have empathy and compassion and love like Jimin. And I want to be this. I mean, you can see why the team works because they all have their distinct personalities and their distinct gifts. It's no different than anything else. An RM on his own doesn't, I mean, he can because now he's got the pleases, but you know what I mean? He doesn't become the Nam June that he is now without the 6 other guys around him. Our Yoongi, being Yoongi in that dark place that he needs to be, sometimes he needs the J-Hope that can kind of bring him out. You know what I mean? Like, you need all the pieces.
Yes, exactly.
They've somehow been blessed enough that what they have is very rare and that they can accept it in each other and use it for good versus now we're going to hate each other. We're going to be jealous. We're going to be, you know what I mean? Like so many people can tend to do. And so I think we look at the guys and we look at them and then we think, oh God, I wish I had what they had. But it takes a lot of being willing to be like giving other people the floor, giving other people the right to also hold space.
And then not feeling that, then not taking on that feeling of loss, like, oh my God, you know, I'm not in control of this situation anymore. How do I handle that? How do I know it's going to be done the way that I think it should be done? Well, it's not necessarily always about the way that I think it should be done.
Right, that's exactly
because
right.
I'm not
And that I think that's
complete
another reason
overlord.
why I tend to dream in a different space than I act, if that makes sense. Because I know that it's like Christina said, not all my ideas are good ideas. I'm the same way. I know all my ideas are not good ideas, which is why I prefer to create them in a place where I don't automatically have people saying that can't work, that can't whatever, because I already know that instinctively. I know, but I still enjoy the process, the dreaming process. Then if I actually have to put it into reality, that's when it's like, okay, let's be realistic. 99% of this can never happen. You know what I mean? I'm like, but I still like the dreaming process. You know, the fictional part of it in my head where I'm accomplishing amazing things.
And like you, I do a bit of writing, and I've just learned to start opening that up. And whether I throw it down as part of a storyline or I just open a document and write stuff down, because we were going back to how we step back and don't say things sometimes when we're in groups. My brain, because some people get a lot of success at carrying a notebook around. That doesn't work for me. So I have to sit there physically keep reminding myself what I was going to say. And if the conversation goes on, because I've stepped back and I'm sitting there going, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this. So it's that whole, I got to try and remember it.
Shels, for you, your personality is sort of the opposite side, which is you are, in my opinion, you are very comfortable with yourself to the point that you can give someone space, like me, to be ridiculous and to be verbal and crazy and whatever, without feeling the need to step in every 5 seconds and give your opinion. Oh, no, this. Oh, no, that. How do you, because I feel like the way you do it is very different than how Jocelyn and I do it. Where Jocelyn and I take the role of, I have to make myself smaller. That's just, you're not smaller, you're just comfortable in that place.
Yeah.
Have you always been that way, or is that
No.
something that you've developed?
No, I've not always been this way. And you know what I do for a living. I work with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they are such a source of strength, intelligence, knowledge that I've gained and put into my daily life. They have to, our society does not adapt to them, and they have to learn how to adapt. So I've learned several ways of listening, taking a conversation, taking a situation. And even though you think what you say is out of this world, even if 10% of it is something that can actually be viable, I will take it and run with it. You know?
Yeah,
There's so many ways to look at a situation.
Well, it's almost like, I think I told you the other day, I didn't say it this specifically, but I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was Hawaii, Bon Voyage Hawaii, but it all runs together when you've watched all the BTS stuff so much. But it's that moment, and I think it's a letter, where Tae apologizes to Jimin because he feels like Jimin is such a better friend than he is back. That's how I feel sometimes with Shels, because like sometimes I think, that need to sort of, I'm not a Jimin. I wish I was a Jimin. I wish I was a Jimin. right? I'm just not a Jimin. And so it can feel like I'm the worser friend in this in this equation. I don't offer what's offered to me. And I know I'm going off, I'm chasing a rabbit. But I think, again, it's that understanding of our makeup. And what if that is just who I am, and what if that is something that, hey, you got to work on that. That's a shitty place. That's a shitty attitude, or that's a whatever. But you just have this ability. You're a Jimin, and you are. I love when we can refer to each other based on one of the members. I love that we do that. You are a Jimin in a lot of ways, and we need all of those different people. And Jocelyn, I think you and I are a lot alike. I think we can think and be very big, and we recognize that about ourselves, which makes us feel like we have to be small sometimes.
Yep.
I told the admin team, I know when we were talking through some stuff, I was like, my own issue that I'm working through with this whole project, this project has made me have to become very introspective, which, as we've all discussed, is not always fun.
Right.
And one of the things I realized, and I don't know if probably nobody else realizes it, but like when we introduce ourselves, I was like, I didn't like introducing myself, because I'm like, I don't even know what I am. I'm the founder, and I don't want that to be like, oh, I'm the founder. You know what I mean? So that felt strange. And then at first, because I kind of had the following on TikTok first, people were like, this is Stephanie's project. And I was always like, no, it's not my project. It's our project. It's our project. It's our project. And so in order to sort of feel like I need to make sure everybody else is celebrated, everybody else is seen, I literally was afraid to have any light on me at all. And so I would just like completely like act like I had no important role at all. Like, oh, I don't know what, I totally undervalue myself, because it's the only way I knew how to really bring everybody else up. And I had to learn through that process. It was frustrating me, because then I felt small, and I was creating my own worst enemy, right? I was doing it to myself. Nobody was doing it to me. I was choosing to do it myself. And so I had to kind of figure out, who am I? Where do I fit? And it's okay to be like, yeah, I'm a part of this too. But that felt like such a... Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, I feel like you'll get it. But I did.
Yes.
I was just like, oh, I don't like the way it sounds coming out of my mouth. So I'll just make myself small. I'll make myself inconsequential. I'll make myself, and I think that, I guess that's probably back to childhood, which is everybody was like, you're nothing, your opinions don't matter, you're not, and I can now see at 54 years old, well, shit, that stuff's still, that shit is still around,
That's what I hate. I wish I could pinpoint, because I know somewhere back in my upbringing, something happened back there. Something happened. Someone said something. Someone did something that in my young developing brain told me, you're not worthy. You're not worthy. You shouldn't be recognized. And then being Gen X, throw that in too, where at 10 years old, I had a house key around my neck. I was responsible for my younger brother from the time we got home from school until our parents got home. Anything he did got me in trouble. So you add all that in, and I can't go back to any one thing, so I have to just generalize. Well, it was something, but I wish I could know. I just wish,
Right.
that's on my list in the next life, if I have an opportunity to address the, supreme being, however you want to recognize them, flying spaghetti monster, whatever. If I get a chance to ask them a list of questions, I have like 10 top questions, and one of them is, what was this? What
Right.
can I just know where in that point? And because it's probably something that was completely inconsequential,
Right.
and my weird wired little brain just took it completely to a different place. But yeah,
That
it'd be
totally
interesting to
reminds
know.
me, and I'm not self-selling myself. This is something that I wrote a long time ago. I should put it out there. I might put it on a blog somewhere. What you're saying is exactly something, this is why I think you and I are the same person. This is exactly something that I wrote as a blog post one time on an old one that I did about creating your own roadmap. And what I told people, I gave them an exercise, and I was like, okay, so you write chapter headings of your life, and not like the big ones like I had a child or whatever. This is what I said. So I said, is a milestone in your life, a defining moment in your, not wedding, not kids, not job. Some examples might be in your own life. This is what I wrote. Being called stupid by a teacher and taking on that label. My parents' divorce, the rejection of a father, the loss of a child or two children. And then it's like walking through this process. Number one, what was the reason of choosing that defining moment? What makes it a defining moment in your life? And look at that moment. Okay, so if I go back to the defining moment of standing in front of my math class because I can't get the answer correct and my teacher calling me stupid in front of the class, that's a defining moment. Okay, so I can explain that. I can write that out. Okay, I acknowledge that as a moment in my life that now has stuck with me now even for 54 years. Was it a positive or was it a negative? And you identify it was a negative. Were there good? Were there bad consequences? And like I had this whole thing laid out that I myself had to walk myself through this process as if I were creating a character for a fictional novel. I was creating it for myself so that I could walk myself through the process of breaking down this moment that happened 50 years ago.
Right.
And how it affects me today. And it's like, okay, how many steps is it? 14 steps. And I literally use character development, the being trained to character develop, as my kind of blueprint. But exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying. What is that moment? I wish I could identify. I think we can identify it. And then following it through the entire character arc, quote unquote, of how does that affect us in real world now? And if we can figure that part out, then I think we can fix or heal here. But we have to go back and understand all of that process to do it.
Now check this out, because this goes back to what you were saying earlier about wanting to establish a method of us helping people by having them put that into character form. And this goes back to when I came to BTS. I used to want to be a writer. I used to write a lot. And I had a college freshman writing 121 prof just eat me alive and killed any thought I had about writing. Well, that and a couple other things. And so I didn't do it except here and there. When BTS found me, which was on the Grammys a couple of years ago, Butter, Jin, oh my God, then Jimin.
I mean, who can blame you?
We won't go there
Yeah.
anymore. And I actually fired
hand.
up my computer one day and started writing, considering fan fiction. And my body of work, it took me a while to embrace that my character's an entirely, absolute 100% Mary Sue. But I realize now that I did exactly what you were talking about. As I generated the storyline I was working with, integrating my own characters in their interactions with BTS, I took her through so much of what I've been through in my life and how I'm feeling in that internal monologue, and allowed it to play out, but then took the fantasy part to what would I wanted to see accomplished because of that.
Right.
And as I started, and then my beta reader is my dear friend who drug me down the rabbit hole to BTS. As my beta reader, she just fell in the same, because we're very much the same. And so the more I realized how much she got it and then started editing and started listening, I realized, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. This has been completely therapeutic for me to put this down in paper. And then I run mine through Word and listen to it to edit, as well as viewing, because I catch stuff. And I've listened to it for hours, again and again and again. And each time it's like it's chipped away a little bit more at those past hurts and those feelings that let me see a bit more about, wow, I really let this go way, way, way too far. So that's completely amazing.
It's when you're writing it as the character, you're allowing yourself to look at it more objectively versus first person, this is happening to me. So you're allowing a character to go through it, so you can remove yourself enough from it that it's not so personal, and you walk them through figuring it out. And in doing that, you yourself are doing it, but it doesn't hurt as much.
Yep, and then you spin it to give it the result you want, which gives you the joy of creation for me in the writing, and also that fantasy that we always have in our heads about how my life could have been.
Right.
If. And I'm getting that love that I desire. I'm getting that validation that I desire. I'm getting the feedback that I need that is constructive without being painful. Which for me is a big thing, is not taking things so very personally.
Right.
But yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. It just really is something that worked well for me.
Yeah, it's a great therapy tool. Who knew that in our own writing we were getting therapy? I'm sure it's the same for the guys with writing the lyrics. It's something about the excrement, like Suga talks about. It's that process and getting it out. It loses its power if it's negative. It loses its power because you're getting it out of you, but it also out there allows you to look at it differently, to process it, to change to change yourself.
Exactly.
That's
So,
amazing. Piper, welcome.
Hi, Piper.
Hi. I'm sorry.
Piper is among us.
no, don't be sorry at all. I've been blathering away long enough. It's
No.
completely someone else's
No, it's
turn to
just
go.
Not blabbering at all.
I'm trying to find out how to put the camera and I can't. I don't know. Anyway.
Don't worry about it if you can't. We'll
But-
look at your little thumbnail picture and,
Yeah. Thank you. So, Jocelyn, amazing how far you have come, and honestly, I'm so in awe of your story and your journey.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
I wanted to join because, in my case, I don't know if somebody has been through something like this, but definitely I feel like I have hit a wall and I'm trying to fix it in my love myself journey. Very, like, when I was very, very young, I did not love myself at all. It was really, I mean, I remember some things and I'm like, whoa. Definitely self-esteem in the floor. And the things that I grew up and I went through some situations, and I think I hit that attitude that Stephanie was mentioning before of being bravado, like very, fuck everybody, like that's it.
Right.
And I was very much giving that energy, but in a very probably aggressive way where I still will cry myself to sleep, but everybody, I don't care what you say, I will do whatever I want. And I think it was specifically when I started to like BTS, and it was 2017 or so, that I hit that attitude because I started to, we have talked about ageism. I started to receive all those comments, and my friends were like, what? Like, you like that? Like, things like that. And I was like, you know what? Everybody goes to hell. I don't care. Like, that's it. And I kind of like isolated myself a lot to the point that, fast forward to today, honestly, I don't have a lot of friends anymore. Like, just to give you a context, I actually moved I immigrated from Mexico to Canada. So my whole family lives in Mexico. I am in Montreal, Canada, by myself with my cat. And that's it. I don't have friends, to be honest. And it's really something that I thought is still in my bravado era. I was like, I don't care. I'm super happy like this. I'm alone and it's fine and I'm okay. But you know what happened last week? I had to go to emergencies because I had some like very crazy cramp pain. And I was in emergencies, and there's like people there. Everybody had somebody. Everybody. And I was like, I have no one. I have, like, my emergency contact is my dad that is in Mexico. This is how like, I do not know anybody. I have isolated myself to a point of like, I mean, if you tell me, like, what plans do you have this weekend? Nothing. Netflix. Probably rewatching BTS contact. Like, I don't have anything to do. And now I don't feel like I have this bravado attitude anymore. I have become a little bit more calm in the sense of like, I'm going through a journey, and it's definitely something that probably I needed that moment of like not giving a fuck very, very loud to settle myself and just start loving myself. And I do now. I have done so much work into my mental health, into my physical health, into like so many things. I feel healthy. I feel happy. I feel comfortable within me, confident in my job. Like, I'm doing great and everything is okay. It's just that part.
So do you think that maybe you needed that, like, although you were using it as a defense mechanism, you actually kind of needed that isolation to find yourself first, so that now you are at a place where you can go and love and accept people and have friends, and they're actually going to be authentic friendships, safe friendships, but you had to kind of go through the shade, through the dark part, so that you can now kind of go back out?
Yes.
Do you think you can look at it that way?
And you know what? You have a good point, because something else that was mentioned here was how we also tend to adapt to people. And I think, going back in memory, I used to do that a lot, to the point that, like I said, like I will start liking things that I don't even like really, but my friends like it. So yay. And it's like, that was not me. That was
Right.
definitely not me. So now I feel more myself than ever, and more, genuine than ever. Is just, yeah, I think I have to
Yeah.
rebuild my community in
Yeah.
some way.
And I bet
And
you'll be shocked, maybe not shocked, but I bet you will fill that community with people that you wouldn't expect. Like, right, that you never probably would have filled it with before.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and
definitely.
forgive me for asking, Piper, because I can't see you. I'm making the assumption. Are you older, Army?
I am
Like a lot
40
of us
years
here
old.
are?
40. Okay.
Okay, because there's that added component too, is that as we get older, the disconnectors, our circles shrink as we lose people. We lose our family members. We
Yeah.
lose connections we had when we were younger, because lives go off. People get married. You lose those tight connections. So for you to be already older and then to move yourself into a situation, similarly, when I was not quite 40 and my mother passed away, that's when the universe led me to my husband. But I packed up everything and left everything I knew behind me to move 600 miles to where he is, and where we are now, where I've been for 20 years. So I went from a social circle where I had people, I had a fairly decent support system, to where I pretty much knew nobody. And because we're not affiliated with our church, we're not in any fraternal organizations, we certainly don't go to bars or anything like that, where do I meet people?
Right.
People at work you want to think they're your friends, but you learn that they're not always. So I
Right.
have less than half a dozen people in my life right now that I know I could turn to in the case of being in the emergency room or something like that. That's the difficult part. So that's the whole component. Is, am I correct in assuming you're in a new space, you've got to find a way to find these people,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, no, and actually you're right. Definitely also growing up gives you that time where, yeah, people obviously start to like disperse, and we are not in the same channel. I don't, for example, I'm not married, I don't have kids, so I cannot relate to a lot of things that
People
my
your age.
people my age are going through. So yeah, definitely. And I have been trying to work this, building a community again, because to be honest, I was not doing it. Like, I was just like, leave me alone in my house. Like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. If I go out, it's just to go and run. That's it. I come back. That's it.
Right.
I'm a very actually not extroverted person. I'm more reserved to myself, unless I feel way comfortable, like right now. But yeah, so I'm doing that.
Well, I think if I can say this, I mean, and again, I'm not saying this in a boastful way, but I think the thing I've learned from creating this project is you figure out a way to create the community you need. You do it yourself if you have to.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but I think you've now found yourself to the point you know yourself well enough to know what your passions is, what you're comfortable with, what you like in people, what you don't like in people, what you like about yourself, what you don't like about yourself, what you need, and you go out and you find like-minded people who can be that community for you. And actually, you're in the best place possible to do that, because you're not going to be going out and creating something that's like on sand and that isn't going to last and it's only going to cause you more pain in the future. You're actually going to create something on a foundation that you've laid in yourself, that this is what I need, this is what I enjoy, this is what I love, and now I can go out and feed other people and people can feed me. And I think that's what maybe we all really need to do. We create our own community, and maybe you find that here and you build from that, or maybe you go and if you're ride bikes or you're a runner or whatever, you get yourself out there somehow. Hey, I want to start a group doing this. Let's go. You take ownership of your own need for that, and you find it on your own versus waiting for it to come to you. That would be my advice.
And circling back here to the project, you're on the Moss City map, right? Did you pin yourself on the map for the project?
I
To look
did
for people in your
actually.
area? Yay.
Yes,
Because
I am.
that's a big one. That's a big
Yeah.
one. And I know it's difficult. So many people down there, out here, and in the chat
Mhm.
have a hard time finding local people. I've been blessed to be found and taken in by a group of a small group of people that I don't know how I lived without them, honestly, now. But yeah, please, yeah, reach out. BTS, man, the army, we're here for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I'm feeling right there. And I actually, yeah, I have to go back to that map because I remember
Yeah.
I did it a while ago and I think has been growing. I'm gonna go back and see.
Yeah.
Any
And
And
other
BB, I'll add you
I
in a second.
followed you. I hope you
And
don't mind.
Piper, I would say
Yeah.
this too: if you ever have to be if you're ever alone in a situation like that again, jump on Discord. There's tons of us in there that would have sat with you,
Please.
and
Please.
held your hand virtually through that entire process. I think the nice thing about the way that we are now in the world is we have the I have connected as much with people I've never met in person as I have with people that I've met in person. So I don't think it has to be that my community is right here beside me physically. My community is all of you. My community is an admin team that I don't want to do this without. My community is Shels. My community, you know what I'm saying? Like, and these are people I literally have never laid physical eyes on in person ever.
But you will.
But
that's
I
it.
will.
That's
September
it.
13th through September 15th. And we'll do it in the future. This will not be a one-time thing. So I think find that thing that you're passionate about and figure out how you create a community around that, and it'll be a beautiful thing. And then keep us updated on your progress. And then, even though we have the map, I think a lot of that connection is happening in the Discord too. So hop in there if you haven't, look for people, and then get on Facebook or whatever you need to do. Find a passion, reach out there. Because here's what I learned in this process before I even started the project. As soon as I told the world what I was lacking, what I felt like I didn't have, what I needed, hundreds of people came out and said, I need that too. I need that too. I'm alone. I need that too. And then immediately you have a community around you, because everybody is just kind of sitting around waiting for somebody else to do it. And so if you'll be the one that does it, you will be shocked. You'll be shocked at the community that you can build around you of like-minded people. Well, not even like-minded. I mean, everybody has different opinions. We believe different things and we support different things. But we have this one nugget that we all agree on, and that's enough. That's enough to have built something really strong.
Yes, and exactly that's what happened when the first time that I saw you in my For You page. You were talking about this project, and I was like, wait, this is what I needed. A bunch of armies, older armies mostly, and so you created a place, and it's great.
That's awesome. Okay, Pansy, let me answer your question. So the map we're talking about is if you go to Army Project 529 on our website, we have what we call the Moss City map, and you have the ability to go in and put your social media handle and your location, not exactly where you are, just a general location of where you are. And you pin yourself. And then you can see everybody in your area, and that you get their social media handles, and you can start reaching out to each other. It's just a way to connect people. And you can also use it. Hey, let's say I'm going to Atlanta for some reason. You go look at where Atlanta is. You connect with some people and be like, hey, I'm going to be in your area. I thought of Atlanta because that's where Katie's from. And it's just a way to connect with people. So go add yourself to that, and you can join us. Okay, BB, I'm gonna put you up here.
You want me to step down, Steph? I can do that.
It's up to you. Whatever you guys want to do.
I'm gonna hang.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna step down just because I have to go, guys. But thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you,
Piper, I
Piper.
followed
Stay in
you, I hope
touch.
you don't mind.
Hello.
Hey, BB.
Hi.
Hi, baby.
Oh, if I come on, hold on a minute. Is that good? Yeah.
Yes, we get to hear her accent. Oh.
No, I love it too. It's like,
Hello. Nice to meet you. It's been really interesting listening to you all. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I relate a lot to everything that's been said. Now, I want to go back to the loving yourself and listening to Teresa. Also, just to say, Jocelyn, I am also ADHD, so our brains are really all over the place.
yay!
Yeah. I need to get tested. I probably am too.
I'm part of that team too.
Join the club.
Yeah.
So going back to loving yourself, right? For me, the turning point was hitting rock bottom with my choice of partners,
Okay.
and it started with I think the marriage breakdown, watching my children watch me, what I was willing to accept, and then watching that. And for me, it was that part. I've already told the story to Shels. For me, it was, I have to remove my children from this situation. I cannot let them see this, because for them, they will think this, I'm teaching them this is acceptable. And so this is the continuation of that DNA. Do you see what I mean? Carrying it on. So my daughter's 30, my son's 32, and I have an autistic daughter of 19. And for those, and a vulnerable one at 19. So for me, it's like, hold on, what am I allowing their father to do to me, which is showing them that this is acceptable? And it wasn't necessarily physical. It was coercive and emotional, and it was controlling. And and it was when I was absolutely submissive, then it was diverted to my son, who is 32, and my son is such a pure, wise old soul. And one day, and the breaking point was, he was crying, and he sat there next to me, my son, and he said, now I'm a teacher, I'm a qualified teacher for primary school children. When my son said to me, he was crying, and he said, I don't love myself. And this is going back to that loving yourself. I don't love myself. So I said, don't say that. I love you. You do love you. You're beautiful. I made you. Mummy made you. I made you perfect and beautiful. He said, no, I don't love myself. He was crying and crying. And he said, that who's crying is my dog. She's agreeing with me.
Yep, he's feeling it.
My son said, I don't love myself because Papa doesn't love me. Papa doesn't love me. Because that feeling of you're never good enough. You know, when my daughter got 19, and it wasn't 20 out of 20, it was 19 out of 20. And yet my daughter, who's now 30, was you know, she's just not academic. She's creative. She's not an academic. And so it just wouldn't go in, you know, and she would cry and say, I've recited this poem 20 times, and when I get in front of the teacher, I've forgotten it. You know, and it's one of those, like, she just doesn't retain the information. So she was never good enough. So for her, it was never good enough. And I realised that in actual fact, I am showing them that I don't love myself. So, you know, so I have to do something about this. So I removed myself and my children. And the morning I did that, I just completed 10 days non-stop work, because it was never enough. I was never bringing in enough money. I was never doing enough. I was working 4 or 5 days teaching, and I was running a hotel at the weekends. This is my life, 7 days a week. Was never good enough. So this morning, after my 10 days straight, and my children, I was, you know, putting them in a creche here and having a nanny looking after them at this point.
Right.
Never good enough. My ex-husband, comes from an aristocratic family, so there's the woman's, you know, the dynamic.
Right.
To say at that point, I've had enough. Would you like a divorce? He said. And I said yes. And I thought, I'm taking the children. I'm going. There was no fighting, nothing. It was that easy. I took the children and I changed countries. Countries. Went through an absolute accused of kidnapping my children, going to court to fight for the, you know, all this. It went really big. It went big and nasty. However, my children, I've got to a point where I had to learn to love myself again. And I felt I couldn't do it. I felt that I'd had this rock, which was my ex-husband, who dealt with everything, controlled everything, the financials, everything, down to what was being cooked for dinner. It was that point. Can you imagine this total control? So now I'm out there with the children, and I'm having to learn once again. But it was learning how I can't cope. I need someone to help me. So then it's falling back into that finding anyone to
Right.
kind of be the pillar again, you know?
Right.
And this
Right.
was the cycle. And I realised that it came to a point that I needed to cut everything off. I needed to take me, find out what was missing in me that made me attract these wrong ones all the time. What was missing in me? That voiding me that I was seeking in others, yeah? That I'm not good enough. So I will allow anyone to treat me that way. And my children, not good enough. So for me, it was like start loving myself. And I have been 9 years single, and I'm very happy. It's a choice. It's a choice. Oh, I can have a queue of them, but no.
You could definitely have a queue of them.
My
Definitely.
choice.
Yep.
You're adorable.
And my children, I have taught them, do not accept but you build your team of cheerleaders. You are celebrated and not tolerated. You love yourself first. You do not need anyone, no man. My daughter is 30. She is in Australia. She has just got a job as a baker. She left a high corporate job. She went to the other side of the world. She's doing it for herself. She doesn't need a man. She's a baker. She's got her little flat now, and she's living her life, yeah, of what she wants. My son, the same. My youngest daughter, the autistic daughter, the same. We are going by build your team of cheerleaders.
Yes.
Be celebrated. You are number one. You are absolutely number one. And you do not go anywhere where you are not number one. You do not, but you love, how you love those around you. And you do. You love those, you want to help people.
If you hate yourself, you're going to hate others. If you love yourself, you can love others.
Exactly.
Yep.
And not only that, people thrive on others' misery. You'll always have, when you've got a sad story or something horrendous, or you're going for a hard time, everyone's there, but they're not there necessarily to help you. They're there to find out all the goss.
Yeah, that is exactly, yes. Preach it. She's preaching.
It's true. People love other people's shit. They love it. They thrive on it, and then they go off because they feel better about their own lives after. Because they can
and they don't have to focus on themselves and fix their own shit.
Exactly. And so this is the thing: you need to get your team of cheerleaders. It's a toolkit. It's a little toolkit. That toolkit is your team of cheerleaders. You don't need a whole load of people. Sometimes 2, 3, 4 people. It's enough, and you can keep going. And you just be humble, like our members. Be humble. Stick to your story. You can reinvent yourself. Reinvent yourself. Be this person you want to meet. Be this person you want. You want to surround yourself with. And I say that to my kids. You do not carry the DNA that I've given you. You make this life your best life. It's too short, your best life. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
No, that's perfect.
Phoebe, this is what I find so inspiring. Excuse me, Steph.
No, you're good.
This is what I find so inspiring because having children was not a path for me. It was just something I knew. I could barely take care of myself. How can I raise little humans? And that's okay. I'm all right with that. I get to be the crazy auntie that hypes them up on sugar and then takes them home. That's fine. But you broke that cycle. You broke that cycle that had probably gone on for generations coming down your husband's side. You found your own roadblock. You faced it. You moved and you took that and you passed it on to your children. That's amazing.
I had deep quantum therapy to the point I went everywhere. I was like, how can I get out of this cycle? How can I help myself and love myself? How can I do that? And I went into deep quantum healing to the point of rocking on the floor like a child because I was finding little me in there and little me that was left maybe abandoned, that wasn't given the love, that little me that I could. And the deep quantum healing is about bringing little you home, bringing you back to you and surrounding little you and saying, well, I've got you. We're doing this now together. You're not on your own. You are loved. You are number one. And it was that deep quantum healing that really, for me, it was the nut. It was the absolute cracking of that nut. It was I cried and cried till there was no more tears. And I thought, right, now, girl, you pick yourself up. You've got a beautiful family and you've now got to walk the walk. Don't talk.
Well, and I think the common theme here is, for some people that are not going to want to hear this, is you have to go into the place that scares you. You have to.
Damn right.
You have to go into the place that you know is going to bring pain and you know is going to suck ass.
Yes,
but you have to do that in order to be able to walk out the other side in a healed, loving place. Because otherwise, I mean, we actually are avoiding what's best for us.
We are. It's about taking the leap. We're so scared, but the net appears. When you take that leap, the net appears. It's like walking, get to the cliff. You're on the edge of the cliff, but the bridge is there. It's but we cannot get ourselves to the edge of the cliff. We're scared.
What's that movie? One of the Raiders of the Lost Ark movies where he had to step onto this like bridge that he couldn't see it. He couldn't see it at all, but he had to trust that if he stepped out, it would be there. And sure enough, it was the perspective change that helped you see the bridge. Probably nobody remembers that. But it's the very thing that we avoid is the thing that will get us to the other side.
Yes. It's true, and it's trusting ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. We don't love ourselves to bring us to there. We have to. It's painful and it hurts, but we've got to do it because when we get there, this huge weight is lifted. It absolutely goes. We just have to believe in ourselves, and that's loving ourselves enough to take us there. It really is. I really believe it. Anyway, that's it.
No, that was I felt like I was at church, but better.
Hallelujah.
And again, let's come back around to the concept of grace, because we make that step, we face that fear, we start that fight, but it's a never-ending process. Human nature means we are never done struggling. No. So we go back to taking in the grace. Not only do we give grace to others, but being open to and knowing that it's okay for us to accept grace for ourselves and grant ourselves the grace to deal with it. One day, 1 minute, 1 hour at a time, whatever it takes.
I'm going to read, just give me 1 minute. I'm going to read the definition of grace because I think a lot of people don't understand what true grace is. So now I'm preaching now, sisters. Okay, no, I'm not. But okay.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Now, of course, it's giving me to do honor or give credit to someone or something by someone's presence. Okay, hold on. I want to actually find, dictionary. Okay, there we go. Grace is to confer, unmerited divine assistance. Okay, this is a different kind of grace. Hold on 1 moment. I want to find the right ones. Disposition to or an act or instance of kindness, courtesy, or clemency. And I'm going to add to the end of that, even to ourselves.
Yes.
I like that word clemency, giving clemency to ourselves, like freeing ourselves. Shit, that's powerful.
It's like paving a pothole for me. Grace is like, okay, I stumbled through this pothole. I need to accept that I stumbled through it. And again, this goes back to sounding like church. I apologize. I'm in that same vein.
We're in that. Once it's in,
we stumbled through that pothole. But the grace is like the tar and the asphalt that lets us go back and not necessarily fill it in because it's always going to be there. It's part of our landscape. But we cover it over so that as we look back, we're not drawn back into those negative images of falling back into what was.
Right.
But the
evidence is still there enough that we can see where we've come from. You know what I mean? Like, it's still there, but it's not causing the damage anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's evidence of it once existing.
Yeah, because it's still part of us, and it's about us embracing that because that's what's made us who we are today. It's part of our journey. It's made us who we are. We can't erase all that, but these are all huge lessons. And we have that back to, we don't look back, meaning we don't look back and sort of like wallow in it and say, look how far I've come, look at those obstacles I've had to overcome, look at the pain I've had to go through. No, it's like looking back and go, yeah, well, girl, look what you've Look what you've actually, the journey and the road you've paved. But look
Right.
where you are today. You know, look how far you've come in spiritually, in the whole, with the soul, with the, do you know what I mean? Not the path, not the walk, but the actual journey, of you, of your soul. You know, it's such a huge, it's such a huge subject,
Right.
isn't it? You can go in so you can
God, you
cover
can't.
it's
Well, and
huge,
it's something that
huge.
once you've experienced grace yourself, you want everyone else to get to experience the same. You know what I mean? You want that. You want that freedom. You want that understanding, that acceptance, that all of that for everyone.
Sometimes you can't put it into words.
Right.
Like I'm getting really, because I can feel it in me, and I know, you know, and I'm proud of me, and I was courageous, you know. And a lot of people said, yeah, but you were really vulnerable. But no, I was vulnerable. It's like I was saying to Patricia earlier. I was vulnerable, but the vulnerability was actually a huge courage from me. It's not a weakness. It's being brave. Being vulnerable is not a weakness. That's where we confuse it.
Yep,
It's
yep.
being brave and courageous. So you have to be vulnerable. You have to get to that weak point to then get that strength to move forward. You have to, and to love yourself. Absolutely. I believe anyway.
I do
And I
too.
think it depends on what path you want to take. Do you want others to dictate to you how you want to deal with the situation, or do you want to work on yourself and get through?
Exactly, Shels. Exactly.
Take me to church on time.
I'm do that one in karaoke next.
And it's
Put
really
that on my
Oh,
list.
Kansas City's
to
going to
talk
be
about
interesting.
It's
Yeah,
really
well,
liberating, you know, to share it as well. People need to share
We
it.
do.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I have to cut this off because admin's waiting for me because everybody's going to be, well, not everybody, but the Violet VIPs, we're getting ready to all get together. If you're on Patreon and you're a subscriber to Patreon and you're a Violet VIP, we're going to get ready to hang out and plan Sunday nights live. So I
Well, we've got
apologize for
Bon
this taking
Voyage.
so long.
We've got Bon
Yeah.
Voyage now on the Discord. We've got
Yeah,
the
and you've
watch
got Bon
party.
Voyage on the Discord. So we
Bon
got a lot
Voyage.
going on. And I
Bon
also do
Voyage.
want to let people know we have the live tomorrow night, but also we are all going to jump into the Boar Lounge on Discord and watch Jen running the torch and squeal together and enjoy together. And that's going to be
Yes,
amazing.
Bean.
But let me just say on behalf of myself, Shels, I'll give you the closing here in a second. I appreciate all of you joining us and giving us the space to have this conversation. And I know this is so far from what we normally do on the project, and I normally do on the project. And I appreciate that you guys give me the opportunity to chase this really weird passion of mine in another way with this project, because it's I think it's still a part of the heart of what the project is. I just have this weird need to do this, and I appreciate you giving me the space to do that and to be vulnerable with me and to put yourself out there with me. And Shels, thank you for trusting me and doing this with me and letting me ramble even here. And I'll let you have the closing words.
Thank you for allowing me up.
Oh, Jocelyn, we love you.
Yeah, we do love you. We love you both. So
And
Close us out,
totally
Shels.
agree. Thank you, everyone, for participating. This has been an amazing conversation, and I think all of us in this project just continue to grow and be better for each other, support each other, and build these friendships, which is the reason why we have it.
Yep, you guys are amazing.
Go forth.
You
and be
guys
awesome.
have proven to me that I actually do like people. Which I
It's all
doubted for a
BTS,
very
all
long time.
BTS joining us, yeah.
Oh, folks are asking what time
Only
is
you
Jen running?
bitches, but I don't like anybody else, but I love you guys.
You know, I never thought I could embrace being called a bitch, but actually I can now, and I rather like it.
When it's said with affection, that true affection. So I'm grateful for all of you. Again, thank you guys all. I think Shels has chosen the next topic. We think we might do talking about being in a relationship with someone who doesn't support our love of these 7 men. And I think we're going to dive into that next time. I don't know when, but we will. But anyway, so join us in the Discord.
Thank
Join us
you.
in all the watch parties. Join us on everything. Join us Sunday night. We love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Jorge, love you guys.
Thank you, Jocelyn and BB and everybody else that came up.
Thank you.
Teresa and Piper. Thank you to everybody who joined us. So love you guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a good Saturday.
Bye.